Hello, everybody out there. Words from the wise. Gary's back again. Half a day. We've got another excellent episode coming your way. I got a brother coming from San Diego. This gentleman and I served together at a float training group, San Diego, way back in the day. I'm talking like late 2000s, 07, 08, 09. His name is Mr. PJ Ernst. So, PJ, what is up, dog?
Gary, what's good? It's good to see you, man. You look good. You didn't age that much.
I accept that, bro. I've gotten taller. You know what I'm saying? I'm working on it.
All right. When I retired, I did what every guy does. I retired back in 17, so I tried to grow the hair out, grew the beard. The beard came in nice and long. Mistake was after 26 years, I forgot I had curly hair. So I started growing it out, and the next thing you know, it started going.
Bro, what did the wife say?
Who said it's got to go? She goes, there were a couple of times where, like, I had a full one of the beards that came out. I'm pretty sure she cut it while we were sleeping.
These women get to know us as we're in the military, and then we finally get freedom and we want to let it all go. My wife is, look, whenever I grow my beard out, she's just, bro, cut it off. It's not a thing. But it's a freedom piece, right? It's like, oh my God, I don't got to shave my face. That's kind of dope.
It's nice.
Brother, I want to go ahead and go back in the Wayback Machine, because what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about your journey and how you ended up where you are today. Were you from SoCal originally?
Yeah. So I was born in Chicago. My dad was an active duty Marine. I was born while he was on recruiting duty. Only lived there for 3 years, the time that he was on recruiting duty, then spent the rest of my life growing up in San Clemente, California.
Okay. So you actually are right at home right now, living out there in San Diego.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. What was it like growing up in SoCal? Was it like dirt bikes and BMX bikes for you?
So back in the day, it was great, man. We go surfing every day. Took beach activities for one of my periods in class. So we'd go to the beach, surf in the morning. It was a different time back then. Like you could go to the beach, leave your stuff on the beach, and nobody would mess with it. They wouldn't go through your bags or nothing. You'd park your car. When I was a senior, I had a 69 Volkswagen, so we'd stash the keys up underneath the bumper, go do the thing. And it was just a good time, man. I was pretty spoiled growing up there.
I'll tell you what, the 90s, because that's when we were teenagers. That was a great decade, bro. It was before all the technology really hit. I tell the students, like, we were the last generation that had, not everything was recorded everywhere you went. Thank God.
Yeah. I'd be like,
oh, thank God. Okay, so here you are getting raised. Dad is a Marine. You're in the Southern California environment. You're surfing. What makes you decide or even to consider to join the service, bro?
So I wasn't a good student in high school. I was an athlete, but I wasn't a good student, man. I messed up. I never ditched school or anything like that, but me and homework, it didn't get done. Everybody was getting ready. We come into about halfway through my senior year, start making, my dad's pushing me and my mom's pushing me, got to make decisions.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go to college. That would have been a waste of money. So we stopped down. I went to go talk to the Air Force recruiter. Typical, dude ain't around. Says, come back at this time. So I'm back there at this time. Yeah. He ain't there. The Navy guy, hey, what's up, man? Just all the memes, dude. Hey, what's up, bro? You like the beach? Yeah, I like the beach. We go in, feeds me on a line of BS. So I go back to tell my dad, I'm like, hey, Dad, I'm going to do this and this. And he's a E8 at the time. He's a master sergeant. He's still in active duty. He looks at it, he goes, let's go talk to this guy. So we go in, pull in, go back there, talk to the recruiter. And the guy he's asking a couple questions. The guy, yeah, Dad does it smooth, goes in, pulls his ID card out and just slides it on the table. Kid looked at it, reads it, and he goes, go get your chief.
Oh.
That was it after that. So I pretty much came in to be a diver. That's what I wanted to do. So I signed up for the dive fair program. I was actually in depth 6 months before I graduated high school. I had my plan going out what I was going to do. So I enjoyed the rest of my senior year, enjoyed my summer, went to boot camp, and it was surreal when I got to boot camp. I went to Orlando. So that's the first time I ever hit humidity. So we step off the plane.
Wow.
Right in the Orlando airport, man. Hits, wow. I'm like, what is this? We're all, everybody that I shipped out with, we're all from like Southern California. We get there, we get in process, get off the bus. I got all these people yelling at me. I don't know what's going on. I just kept my eyes forward. There was a chief that got right here. I was like, why is this dude yelling at me? You know, I'm like, God dang, what did I get myself into? I remember a couple of things my recruiter said. He goes, hey, just take it one day at a time. That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
So we get through all the in processing. I took a long hot shower because something told me this was the last time I'm going to be alone in the shower. So I took a shower, went to go to sleep. and just trying to get some sleep, right? It's about one something in the morning, and grown men in there, dude. I hear people whimpering and crying, and
Well,
I'm like, bro, I'm just like,
under pressure, bro. It's that pressure. They're regretting life choices and trying to. But you know what? As I listen to that story, I'm just thinking to myself, like, those are the nights that if you make it through the night and you wake up and you're still there and you don't quit, that you're gonna
yeah,
be stronger the next day. Right.
yeah.
And it's not like you landed in the damn county jail or you're in the prison. Like you really are. But for a lot of people, they've never been put in a position where they have that level of stress.
There wasn't any stress yet. We're sleeping.
But it's coming. They know it's
Yeah,
coming.
so
It was already hot breath in your face
yeah,
talking to you loud.
yeah. So we're sitting there, and then the lights come on. Wham! They do the typical. They throw the trash can down the thing. Get on the
Yeah.
line. Get on the line. We finally figure out what the line is. So we're two lines going across the compartment, and we're just staring forward. And they're yelling, "Don't lock your knees! Don't lock your knees!" I don't know what this dude's talking about. I'm just
Yeah.
standing up trying to like, and I'm hearing people like, "Bam!" They're hitting the ground. I'm looking forward. I can't see that far out of my peripheral, so I'm like, "Oh snap! They're hitting people, dude. They're punching people." That's when I was like, "What did I get myself into?" Because this
Yeah.
was August of '91. I didn't know what was happening until the dude across from me, he had locked his knees and he passed out. And so
Mm.
when he hit the ground, that's what I was hearing. They weren't punching people,
Yeah.
but it was people passing us like, everybody sit down. So then we sit down. They go through the whole rigmarole, get us lined up. I can't remember if we got our heads shaved first or if we went to chow. And then I just remember when I look at my career, dude, boot camp was the easiest part. They told you where and when to be, told you when to eat, told you when to sleep, told you when
Yeah.
to do basically everything.
We all learned it, right? Be on time, be in the correct uniform, and
Yeah,
have a positive mental attitude, and you'll probably be successful in the United States Navy, right? Period.
yeah,
Trust whoever's in charge of you for that day to get the job done. And that's the idea behind it. You're going to get all these people from all these different parts of the country. Here, all you bunch of Southern California dudes, but you got a bunch of dudes from Oklahoma, freaking
yeah.
Florida, freaking Pac Northwest, and you all got to figure out how to get along, get on the same page. I did a video with a brother last night, and he was coming from Puerto Rico, and he was like, "Gary, they had to teach me how to speak English."
So we're sitting there, we're going through it, and boot camp was cool, man. I look back on it. Ironically, I had a good time at boot camp. I went to
Yeah.
Orlando. So when it came time to folding some parts of the clothes, I couldn't fold it right. So my drill instructor or my RDC constantly called me Mr. Awesome. I'm running around the compartment. So they had this thing back in the day in Orlando. They called it a 1-5 day. So it was after your first week, 5th day of training. That's when you got indoctrinated.
Yeah.
They had all the RDCs that were in the building in the compartments that you were in come down to your compartment, and it was just on. It was like a mosh festival for 2 hours. You just
Okay.
hear, you get on the line ready to start it, and you hear people because that whole week you're sitting there going to the galley, and you can see when certain companies are coming in, they're just covered in sweat, they're just like drained, and they're like, "Oh, they did their 1-5 day." And so we're all on the line, and then you just hear the compartment door smack, smack, and then all hell broke loose, man. It was like 2 hours of when I got my cruise book at the end of boot camp, they got a picture of me. I'm running around, and there's a dude that had some streaks in his drawers. The RDC threw it. What you don't see is me off camera getting hit in the face with it. Like I said, this is '91, right? This is so they
Yeah.
got a dude running around. He's got his underwear on his head with a streak saying, "I'm a nasty blah blah blah." But
Oh no.
so it all rolls through, right? And there's a method to their madness. So remember when the
Always.
start got hit? The start got hit a few years before. There was a HMC, which to this day I have not seen a chief with a bigger rack than this dude had. His stuff was like up, went
Yeah.
around the shoulder, came around his back, and up back over here. He walks in, and he was on the start when it happened. And he starts talking about it, and they do the whole thing, right, where you're drained, your compartment's trashed, you're tired, and then they hit you with the Lee Greenwood song. He's giving the
Mm.
speech, the flag's going by, so everybody's got tears. And then from that day forward, it was like you were accepted. You were accepted a little bit. You
To
hit
get
that
the
one,
part. Got
and
it. So
then
that was your essentially like we used to call it shock and awe when we did the selectees, right? First of the
yeah,
selectees come in the room, and that's just the hey, congratulations, you now get the opportunity to try out.
yeah,
You're
pretty
not
much.
there yet. But what I love about what I'm hearing from you is you go through this pivotal moment, you get this rite of passage, and it empowers you to want to even do better because you got that win. You got to win. We got to win, guys. Even though we were running around like jackasses for 2 hours, You're in
Oh
that
yeah.
line at the chow hall. Yeah, we just did 1 5-day. What?
And they look at you. Now everybody's looking at you. Like all the new companies that are formed up, they're in their PT gear or their civilian clothes, and they're looking
I
at
love
you.
it.
Now you're there.
I'm into it, bro, because I will tell you, too many people in this world, especially as adults, don't have those kinds of pivotal moments. They
Yeah.
just don't get them. We have a whole life full of them. We look back on our careers, and there's going to be so many times where you're like, that suck really changed how I look at something. And then you can rely on that when things are going sideways on you, because I can remember a time I had to really rally, and I could call a brother or a sister or somebody like, bro, talk me through this, and away we go. I will tell you, as I meet more and more people throughout my personal life, especially people that don't have the same experiences we have, I almost feel like their life is like vanilla. And it's like you got to remind
Yeah.
them, no, you went through hard stuff. You just don't remember it as much as we do
Yeah.
because it was such a big boom. And I remember telling the chief selectees every year, look, this is what grown person puts himself through this process on purpose, right?
Yeah.
Welcome the opportunity. It was the same thing with boot camp, right? You're there rationalizing, why is this grown man yelling at me? What did I do wrong? But now here you are, only 2 weeks in, 1 5-day, and you're already like pushing through wins. A guy started out crying, and then a week later they're doing 1 5, right?
Yeah.
And you're going. So I think that, like you said, they knew what they were doing. And remember, they're making freaking sailors, bro. Sailors. I feel like if I have one thing I would love to send out for energy out to our fleet is, bro, sailors when I was growing up were badasses, dude. We're the guys that will go out, work hard on the ship, go out, kick people's ass in the Liberty port, and still be back on time to get the ship underway. Right? They do give him some spinach and watch how it would go. He would handle business. Right? Look at World
Yeah.
War II. Sailors are tough dudes, man. And that's what they're making sailors, right? And you got to have that over the horizon mentality from day one, right? So you come out of boot camp and you graduate and you're proud of what you did and you're looking back on the experience and you're going good. And you said Navy diver?
Yeah. So there's a little bit of a story to that, right? So
I'm
when we're in boot camp,
because you end up being a snipe. So I want to hear how
yeah,
you go from Navy diver to being a snipe.
we had to get up in the morning and go work out with the SEALs and those guys at 3 o'clock in the morning. So before everybody else gets up, on certain days, we would go to the pool, we would swim, we would run PT. That was the only time in boot camp you got treated like an adult. Like they weren't
Yeah.
about that life, right?
Yeah.
And we're having a good time, man. Going through there. A couple weeks later, I started developing a pain in my groin area. I'm in the shower, and some dude's, bro, what's wrong with your balls? And I was like, why are you looking at my balls, dude? Then I look down. I'd gotten a hernia,
Mm.
and I had to go to the doctor. The doctor saw it, said, hey, we'll do surgery when you graduate, but we don't want you doing any PT. And I'm like, don't want me doing any PT. So that the recruit, I'm like, oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Get back to my company. They're like, nah, they tried to. So for a weekend, I got shipped off to the medical company. Got over there, saw the nonsense that was going over there. This is the first time that I learned that in the Navy, you're your best advocate, right? Nobody's going to advocate for you better than you.
Yeah.
I talked to a guy that was there, a kid that had been there for 6 months. I was like, this ain't what I want to do. I got lucky. The CCs for the medical company had to do their PRT that Monday morning. I went back to my doctor, got a note, went back to the training officer, got seen by him, and was luckily got put back into my regular company. And you talk about somebody not complaining about anything after that. The regular company was the life. When you got to the medical company, you saw dudes that had been on medical hold for 8-9 months.
Yeah.
Hell. So yeah, so I had that. Oh, funny story. So we get back, we're marching. So down in Orlando, where the grinders where you would march around, we'd have to carry these M1 Garans. They were M14s with concrete in the barrel, so they were heavy. The thing about there is just like San Diego, the darn airport, the planes fly right over the grinder. So I got caught looking up at one like I was like, oh, I'm about to be on that thing. CC was like, what are you doing? Next thing I'm in the middle of the grinder, laying on my back, shooting planes down, going, I got another one, sir. Got another one, sir. So I don't think they could do that anymore, but yeah. So then we went to the end, was getting ready to have my surgery, went and talked to my classifier, and they were like, hey, so we're going to hold you at boot camp until after your surgery, let you rehab a little bit, then you're going to have to retake your PST. And I got 30 days convalescent leave after the surgery. I started adding everything up, and I was like, can I take it at a later date? They're like, yeah, you can go to your A school and take it. I was like, cool. So I dropped the dive program, got my surgery, went on 30 days convalescent, came back, found out I was going up to Great Lakes to be an electrician. Went to Great Lakes in the wintertime. Did not understand what below zero meant.
Bro, you are a South
Yeah,
California dude. We went to Orlando, but now you're
yeah,
going to Great Lakes in the winter where it's real winter.
yeah, real winter, dude. So I got lucky. I had family down in Chicago, so I would go down there when available on the weekends. But yeah, the first few times I remember waking up and hearing the watch talk. They would talk to the weather and what the day was, and they came out and said one time, "Yeah, it's 20 degrees below zero. Wear everything you can and cover your face with a towel." And I popped up and I was like, "What do you mean it's 20 degrees below zero? What's that mean?" And then one of the guys that I was in my room, he was from New York. He goes, "Oh yeah, that's this wind chill factor." I'm like, "Wind chill factor?" I was like, "Man." And then
So
you
they
go to
were making
school
an
and
announcement like in the speakers of
yeah,
the barracks.
yeah. And the speakers of the barracks, they're telling you what because they would tell you in the morning when Reveille went down what the uniform of the day was.
Right.
And they basically said, "Hey, wear everything you got to stay warm and put a towel around your face if you don't have a scarf."
Oh man.
And yeah, so we went there. A school was a trip, learning everything, understanding everything. Got there, graduated in June. Never took my dive PST, man, because I wasn't in the shape that I needed to be in. Because in the
Well, I mean, so when
wintertime,
you get up there to Great Lakes and you're an electrician A school, is there fleet returnees in your course
yeah,
or is it just dudes coming? So there's fleet returnees.
yeah,
And this is where a lot of sailors get exposure to different ideas because they meet dudes that have been out to the fleet. They get buddies that are coming from different places. You get to go to Gurney Mills Mall. You get to go to
yeah.
Waukegan. You said you were in school from the winter till June. How was that being a young man, got a paycheck, not in boot camp anymore? Were you out about on Liberty when you were out of class?
But yeah, so we all got together. It's just like the ship. You got your people that you hang out with in the barracks. And what's the statute of limitation? We might have went to some of those bars out there and got in,
Sure.
but yeah, we went out. That's when you learned your first thing. You hear the stories from the fleet returnees about,
Yeah.
oh, whoa, man, you're like this ship or that ship or this port or that port or San Diego, Long Beach, Philippines, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. You're
100%, man.
just,
I remember just going, I went to undesignated fireman school. I was only there for 3 days. But in that week, I got access to a bunch of cool stories from a bunch of dudes that I thought were salty as hell. And
yeah,
they're a bunch of third classes coming back
yeah,
for some A school. But you remember, hey, shipmate, thank you, shipmate. Don't call me shipmate. We ain't been on a ship together. Oh, damn. What is that?
yeah,
But I'm thinking these guys are freaking awesome. And of course, their energy is much different than a
yeah.
boot camp company commander or even the instructors. So but I remember the Liberty and the limos and all that, and just
Yeah, the
having the
limos.
access. The limos, bro, that was a thing because none of us had
Yeah.
cars. We're all walking everywhere. So coming out of A school, you're now going to be a Sparky, an electrician. What? How do you get your first set of orders? Did you get to pick, or did they pick for you?
So the way it worked was because I had initially said that I was gonna go to dive school when I got up there. I didn't pick
Yeah.
orders with the class. So when it came to, I took the PST and I did not do well. And
Okay.
again, they were like, because it was my fault. I
Sure,
got to take
man.
some ownership on that one. I didn't
Yeah.
work out like I should have during the winter time, but so they give me orders. They're like, yeah, hey, you're going to LHA 5 Peleliu out of Long Beach. What's an LHA? And one of the
Yeah.
dudes had came off of Tarawa, and he's, oh yeah, you're gonna have a good time on that. That's a large
That's
hotel
my
afloat.
that's my real name. That's my Gator Navy, baby. I love a
Yeah,
good amphib.
yeah. So
LHA out of
Long Beach. I went up there and caught it when it was in its dry docking period. Got up there, got exposed to all that. Met some really cool people. Like back then, everybody lived on board. So you met your friends, right? You might have a black dude, white dude, Mexican dude, Indian dude.
for sure.
Everybody went out. We would all
Yeah.
like, and I remember when I got there, a couple of the guys like, "Hey, are you new?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't know what was going on." Like, "Hey, come on with us." And so we all went out, and then that was my friends from the whole time I was on board. And we'd
Yeah.
add to the group and take away from the group when people left.
Yeah.
But Long Beach was a cool spot, man. I miss being stationed up there.
Where is I've been to Seal Beach. I wonder was Long Beach is it like was it a Navy base in Long Beach?
Yeah, you know where if you go north of Seal Beach, there's a big now container yard. They closed it back in I think '94 because we transferred down to San Diego in '93. And there used to be a big dry dock where you could dock carriers and everything. They paved that in with the concrete, and now it's a big container yard.
Wow.
So if you look on a map, you can see where it is, where Mole Pier and everything is. But I've driven up there a couple times, and there's no resemblance to what it was back in the day.
That's crazy, man. I remember hearing about people being in Long Beach. And look, I've seen some sailors get worked over pretty good outside of Seal Beach. We'd go up there to get
Yeah,
ammo unloads or whatever it is. And we would tell the sailors, like, bro, don't go out there acting a fool. Not everyone cares.
dude.
And so I can only imagine what it was like having sailors living in Long Beach, living
Oh
on the
man,
ship. And when you lived on the ship, I don't know about you, but I lived on the ship, my first ship too. And I tried to do everything I could to not be on the ship unless I was working, just because the rack is not always where it's at. So you're out in Liberty as
yeah.
much as possible.
Oh
Okay.
man,
So,
Long Beach was wild. Long Beach was great. You could because you're right there, so you can take off to LA, go to Belmont Shores, Huntington Beach, and so a little while after, about a year after being on board, I got a car, got a little Geo Metro, fucking tinted windows. We went everywhere in that thing.
yeah.
We start branching out, so we're going up to Mount St. Mary's all girls nursing school up in LA. We're going to
Right.
UCLA. We're driving all over the place because, like you said, you don't want to stay on the ship. So it
Yeah, you
was,
don't. You want, yeah, 100%, man. I get it, bro. And you have some of the best friends you're ever going to have in your life because none of you
yeah,
are married yet. None of y'all got kids yet. You got a little bit of change in your pocket, and the world is your freaking oyster. I remember my dad bought it like brand new, and I was like, oh my God, it's a new car. It's awesome. So I could see you pimping the Geo Metro, and y'all happy because you got wheels.
yeah. We got
Simple.
wheels. Gas was under $1. It was like 70 cents, man. The thing got 40, 50 miles to the gallon.
Okay, so when the ship moves to Sandy, first off, before we even get to the ship moving to San Diego, in the dry dock, and you're living on the ship, how was like, was there showers? Was there hot water? Like, how was that living on dry dock
So
on the
yeah,
ship?
so we were living in a barge. We had an old destroyer escort that was converted into a barge. And so I got there in July. We didn't undock till later that year. After being on the ship for a few months, there's holes cut and everything. So you come on board through the lower V, go, you like, hey, this is how I get to main swim. As we started getting ready to get out of dock, they start sealing up these holes. I couldn't figure out where to go. I was like, how
Right.
do I get here and here? Because you're used to walking through. But it was actually pretty cool watching them how they put it back together. And then we got ready to sail.
Okay, so how long were you on this ship before you actually got to get like light off the plant?
About 7 months. And LOA back then was the real LOA. The hey, 6 months out, you start prepping for it. And you're coming in. Those old crusty dudes. I remember these guys coming in because you can still smoke down in the plant and
Yep.
smoke on the ship. So these ancestors would come on board, old crusty guy holding his coffee cup, like smoke hanging out, and you're like, I just cleaned that. You have to go back and do it all over again. And yeah, I think
Nice.
some of the sailors nowadays they don't know about that, but they would also pull you aside and teach you drop little nuggets of wisdom and stuff.
So I was reading an article the other day about where did all the sailors go? And it was talking about all these haunts and all these major installations throughout the world. Like San Diego, you got freaking Trophy Lounge, you got freaking right outside the base,
Yeah,
right? The main haunts. You got down in IB, you got the haunch out there in Yokosuka, you got Sailor Town and Sasebo. And it was like all those places are still there, but the sailors are not there anymore because culturally we've just stopped doing those things because of life's culture change. And you'd see that same guy kicking your ass in the inspection later on that night in the bar. He'd be
yeah,
drinking in there and he would talk to you. Some of my best chiefs, I would drink with them off duty and they would tell you, man, you guys are really stupid today at work or whatever it was. And it was some solid conversation, man. And I feel like that again, I do think that as Americans and as sailors in particular, that edge was part of what made us so damn strong because
yeah.
it took a certain kind of person to be out there drinking to 1, 2 in the morning and still be back to work on time the next day and do a good job at work. And
You got treated like an adult back then. It was like, because you remember, you go out, you're burning hard at night with the boys. You get in, you go to quarters, you're doing what you got, and then you're like, I just got to make it to lunch. I am not
yeah,
going out tonight. As long as you did what you do, chief left you alone. First class
that's
left
it.
you alone. You get to
That's
lunch, get a little bit of food in you, go take a quick little 1 hour power nap, warm up later. You're like, and the fellas start
feeling
coming, hey,
pretty
where we
good.
going tonight? Just
Feeling
hit it. Let's
pretty
go.
good. That's it, bro. 100%. So when you started off standing as a watch stander, do you remember? Because as an electrician, your watch rotations. Did you start off first as like a roving watch stander, or did you get right to a switchboard operator?
So we had to stand. We started standing diesel watch. So I was on the emergency diesel, and then when we were underway, regular steaming, we until you got qualified console operator, you stood space electrician,
Yeah,
which Man, steam plants, dude, they ain't no joke, bro. I was happy when I got to a gas turbine.
But my first ship was Bellawood. I was undesignated fireman 27 in aft main machinery room at BT side. And trust me, I had many electrician buddies that would be out there with me in the space working on stuff. Or my favorites were the emails in there on the little chair
Yeah.
next to the freaking space soup. And them dudes were like riding shotgun, just talking so much smack because for the most part, unless something was going crazy, the switchboard was usually pretty stabilized.
We had to
They
stand
had a
up.
chair. They had a. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh,
They had a chair. But we were half main, bro. I had space suits that were second classes. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
I wasn't always a. We didn't have the Chiefs all stood watching forward main, right?
yeah.
Half main, we were a little wild. We were a little more cavalier. We were out there having water fights in the pit. you
Yeah,
know?
it was funny. Like when you would stand and watch, like when you're in aft pit, you were like a degenerate. And then the dudes that are up mid main, they're like drinking their coffee with their,
Yeah. Oh no, we used to throw down, bro. I remember one time
yeah,
we were out there on the BT upper level. We pulled into a port. We're all hyped. We're out there on the upper level wrestling and getting excited to go on Liberty. And this dude from forward main it came up to take a cold iron watch. And so he comes out, closes the console door, and bro, it was like a damn Kill Bill movie. All of us just stopped, looked at him. He couldn't run fast enough, bro.
yeah,
We had that dude trice it up so quick. And but that's how it was, right? There was a friendly rivalry
yeah.
between aft main, forward main, and the watch people that stood watching those spaces own their spaces. And the electricians were a part of our watch team, and that's how it was. Did you deploy on board that ship?
Yeah, so I deployed twice. I deployed twice on Peleliu in the 5 years I was there. The first
Okay.
one we left in '94. We left in January to came back. Actually, came back on my 21st birthday in July. Got back off deployment, but we did the pullout in Somalia. So we spent the
Oh,
whole deployment in Somalia. Went to Singapore. Was our first. We stopped in Hawaii because we burned up a line shaft bearing. Had to go get that changed out, and then we went to Singapore for real quick. Pulled into Semboang up there. That was my first real overseas Liberty port. Got with one of my guys who's a third class. He'd been around. We went out. He showed me the town. So that's when it was like you're running till 6 in the morning getting back, and that's when Liberty was Liberty. They told
yeah.
you, hey, Liberty expires at this time. Don't be late. Do what you got to do and get back. Then we got down to on station off of Somalia to observe the pullout. Pulled into Mombasa, Kenya a few times, which that was cool. That was cool as heck, man. If you ain't
Yeah.
never been on an African safari, wow.
I,
They,
that's awesome, bro. I
you
could
know,
only imagine that. That's crazy. You guys were
you
getting
know,
Liberty in freaking Kenya.
back then the NWR trips were wild. They would set those up because you had the old school dudes that would like, yeah, we're gonna do this, and you had a chaplain on board. Chaplain was always cool. He was
Yeah.
always every now and then you see the chaplain out at the bar, like he's working through some stuff, man. But they would set the trips up, and it was always like your chief would make us take at least one NWR trip each port visit to make sure that we got exposed to something other than the bars.
That's
Yeah,
hey, I appreciate that mentorship, bro. That's intrusive leadership. You know what I'm saying? So your second deployment, you mean your first one, you got this whole African experience and the Somalia thing, which what was going on in the world in Somalia at that time where it was that Black Hawk downtime
yeah.
period?
So that was post Black Hawk Down. We were doing the pullout, so we were actually the last ship there, pulling the last forces out. It was wild. So the irony of that is, so it's a Marine ship. The battalion landing team, the Marines that came on board were a lot of my dad's friends. So a lot of them knew me growing up.
Wow.
It was good on things except when we crossed the line. So when it came shellback time,
Yeah.
there was some get back for some stuff I did when I was younger.
I'm sure, bro. I'll never see that person again. Never knew him that day. It was a brief moment in time, but the whole day was a freaking. It started at midnight, damn near, and it ended when it ended, right? But you know what? That's cool. You had people that were from the green side that were doing shellback ceremony, and the Marines take it pretty serious too, though. They
Yeah.
love the being a they love shellback day. They love crossing the line ceremony.
The thing was, so the Marines couldn't participate in it, but if you were assigned to a combat cargo, you
Ah,
were part of the ship. So a few of them were, because when they come in, they assign people to combat cargo and things like that. So those guys had gotten assigned to combat cargo. Because I thought I was like, oh yeah, because they were giving me stuff, giving me mess all the way up to it, and I'm like,
right.
you guys can't be part of it. I'm good. And then
Yeah.
when the day come, dude, I'll never forget. We had this old LDO DCA. I can't for the life of me remember this guy's name, but I remember crawling through the hangar bay. And once it was our finally time to get to the aft aircraft, the elevator, we're going up to the flight deck, right? So we all stand up. We're like, what? I'm a walk. That dude hit me with a 2.5-inch flight deck fire hose on solid stream straight to the chest. I kept my mouth shut the rest of the time on the flight deck.
I think that's crazy they didn't let the Marines participate in the crossing the line ceremony, man. So there's some of that political correctness already starting early, right? But I'll tell you, all my ships, the Marines have always played. So it might have also just been that leader, that person, whatever. Because again, the traditions of what makes us special and unique, we got to make sure we preserve those so people understand like the heritage behind it all. Okay, so what was your second deployment like? And what was it like coming back to the States after deployment? Did you come back like, how was that?
So there's a key part we got to talk about.
Okay.
We got to go to Australia. We got to go to Fremantle, Australia in 94 when this is pre 9/11, where you pull in and there's hundreds of people on the pier.
Yeah.
This is back in the day where like you would take your Dixie cup with your name in it, throw it down, and they would come find you on later. I never like it blew my mind that place. Because me and my friends, we all went out, we went to go eat. And I will say this back because I've been back to all over Australia a few times in my career. The Australians remember what we did for them in World War II.
Yeah.
And we were there eating dinner and we go to pay, and the waitress comes up and goes, "No, it's been paid for." And we were like, "What do you mean? We haven't paid?" And they're like, "No, it's been paid for." And to this day, hey man, I say thank you to that person that paid for it if they get to see this podcast. But that's what it was. I remember the captain going, "Hey, ship gets underway at XYZ, don't be late." And that was the last we heard from anybody. So we leave there. I remember.
Yep. I remember being told when we went to Australia, I've been there a few times, and it's always been this: you want to man the rails. That's the port you want. You want to man. 2 times you want to man the rails. You want to man the rails returning home from deployment, and you want to man the rails going to Australia because, like you said, they're going to show you their love. They're going to show you that they appreciate, and it's wild out there, and it's fun, and it shows you a different culture that's also Western, but they're very unique, right? Yeah, I love the Australia is top of my list of places I will spend time when I get older. Me and my family.
So we go there, we come back, we hit Hawaii, we have a good time in Hawaii. We're pulling back into San Diego. Now we're pulling back into San Diego summer of 94. So when we left back in January, grunge hadn't come out yet. So when you go to the clubs and stuff, and I'm excited, right? I'm turning 21 the day we get back. I want to go out and see the clubs. So you would see how girls would dress all throughout the world when we were out there. Get back to San Diego, grunge is in. We're like, what the heck happened, man? They're like got ripped up shirts and baggy pants, and like, where's the hotties and the high heels at?
Nirvana's jamming in the background, and
the music was fire. The music was fire. But yeah, we get back. Everybody does their thing. The dudes that you were hanging out with on deployment, they were married. They can't come out no more. They're like, even we try to be like, hey man, you want to come out? I can't, man. I got to go back.
Right. And the other thing, you got the chance to see partying in different cultures, right? You got the chance to go clubbing in places not San Diego. And you had money in your pocket there because you had been saving it up in between the ports.
Yeah.
Now you're in San Diego and it's like, bro, we can't party every night, dog. Like at some point we're gonna be broke. And like you said, people got families, people got responsibilities, and that's how it is as you get older, right? As you get older, you start to recognize back in home port, it is different, right? For sure.
So we get back, we go on our palm period, relax. And then that's back when you came back off deployment, you went into a designated yard period for a couple months and they worked on the ship. So we got that all going, came out around wintertime, Christmas time. I think we did LOA right before Christmas, went on palm period from that. And then New Year came and we just started right back into the training cycle.
Because you lose a lot of people right after the deployment too, right? They'll keep them through the deployment. A bunch of people will leave. A bunch of folks will come in. Now you're the salty guy because you got a deployment under your belt. You've got a lot of watch time, and you're gonna get probably your next deployment in on your first ship. For the second deployment, what was different about that one? Do you think there was no Africa hit probably?
No, so one. I got moved from aft pit to standing EMOW up in main control, so the fun was gone. And that watch we went to the Gulf. So we went to the Persian Gulf and got to experience all that. I remember we pulled in, we got there right around Christmas time of 95 because we had deployed in November. We get there, Vice Admiral Red was Fifth Fleet, and he had said E4 and above, no liberty restrictions. The only thing was that you had to sign out with a buddy, I think it was. But The Gulf was amazing. This was before it really got built up. So you would go to some of the clubs there, and they don't start jumping until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
The environment where you go to the Gold Soup, just going around the taxi cabs,
So
it
you're
was
talking
wild.
about Bahrain in particular,
No,
right?
I'm talking about Jabal Ali in Dubai.
Jabal Ali. Okay.
Yeah, so this is when we got to Jabal Ali, the Burj Khalifa and all that stuff wasn't built up. So from the port over at Jabal Ali to Dubai, it was about 20, 25 miles, I think. That was still all sand. So when I came back on deployment back there in '06 and saw it all built up, it blew my mind.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Jabal Ali is a whole new place now. I remember my first time in Jabal Ali was the sandbox. And
yeah,
eventually I got to go out to all those big malls they had. Mariah
yeah,
Carey's in concert and they indoor ski slopes and they really did it
yeah,
up. But like you're saying, the restrictions were heavy, right? There was always this pressure of we got to make it back on time. We got to make it back on time by just being able to enjoy your time on liberty. Okay, so you do the Persian Gulf hit, and when you guys went to the Persian Gulf, that was just to go for presents. There was really nothing happening
right.
in the Persian
No,
Gulf,
no,
right?
nothing was going on. We went there for presents.
Okay. So just in chopping the Fifth Fleet, going for the presents, getting some tax-free money, getting some hazardous
Yeah,
duty pay, but really nothing's going sideways quite yet.
rolled up
Okay.
to Kuwait, dropped the Marines off in Kuwait. Got to go see Kuwait. We went
Got,
in,
got it.
got to see the base. Took an LCU ride back. Yeah, we pretty much rolled there, and then on the way back out, man, that was a good port too. On the way back out, we hit Thailand, Philippines, then Hawaii. And the Philippines was like back to back, dude, within a week and a half of each other.
That's a Westpac, baby. That's a West.
Yeah,
You know what's funny is I grew up in Sasebo was my first ship. That was before 9/11. I was there 97 to 2000. That was our regular life, bro. We were
yeah.
always bouncing between Okinawa, Philippines, Thailand, Hong Kong. Like it was crazy. Then of course 9/11 comes and screws up all the parts. So
It was because you got like when you look about leadership, you got treated like an adult. So a lot of people didn't want to screw up because they wanted to be able to stay out. They wanted to be able to do that. They didn't want to get their liberty taken because it wasn't you didn't necessarily go to mast. Your chief might have had some stuff for you to do, and that was the couple times. Like I never was a troublemaker, but there were a couple times we got in trouble. I look back on it now. I'm glad I didn't go to mast, but it probably would have been less painful if I went to mast.
I hear that the rise of technology was almost directly aligned with the rise of the war on terror, right? And we'll never know how it would have been like if there had been no war on terror, but technology was steady rolling in, right? Because technology was the game changer because people could capture photos or capture videos or whatever, and then now our country's having to answer questions about people's conduct or whatever it was.
Oh
And
yeah,
back in those earlier days, there was no evidence, bro. There was
no,
and it was and nor did it feel like people were trying to set up your country and have a huge political fallout because they wanted the money to keep coming in by having the sailors and the marines hit their port. So at the end of your time aboard your first ship, are you like I'm staying in the navy for sure, or are you thinking about getting out?
So I had re-enlisted for 2 years and did that second deployment. Came in, was like, what do I want to do? Wasn't ready to go to school or anything like that. So called the detailer. Detailer sent me over to Beach Group. I went to Amphibious Construction, probably one in Coronado. Ended up doing
Nice.
3 years there. Totally different life. It
Right.
was like we'd PT in the morning, doing your work in the afternoon, playing sports. Sports were spring and summer was softball. So the commands would all play softball at lunchtime, football in the fall, and then basketball in the wintertime.
I would say the CB's culture is freaking second to none, man. If you got the chance to be exposed to I got to meet them in Guam, and I will tell you, they still have that old school culture of
Yeah.
said, we're gonna go out and play softball, we're gonna kick your guys' butt in softball. And I feel like the ships have kind of lost that sense of camaraderie when to do those because we got so much damn work. We got so
Yeah,
much
they do.
work to do on the ship that but the bees they got that in spades. And you said you were with the beach group, so there was CBs there. Was it also like LCACs and LCUs?
Yeah, so I was assigned to ACB1, but we would go on deployment for debts and stuff with a beach group.
Okay,
I got to spend almost 3 months in Patty Beach, Thailand for Cobra Gold. Like they flew me over, put me on it. They were like, "Hey, you guys are going here." Thailand in '98 was wild. You could get like a 32 ounce of Heineken for it was like a quarter. when the Marines would pull out, the ships would pull out, and it was just us there. You're having a great time, man. I made some friends with some of the Thai Marines that we were staying at the base that they came.
Yeah.
Those dudes are wild. They're wild. They were like, somebody said there was a snake around the corner from the barracks we were in. These dudes take off running with scissors, knives, anything they can. They caught it, carved it up, and then like, hey, you want some? You want to eat? You want to eat? But the SEABEEs go on deployments. Then later that year, we went on deployment to Korea. If you got to go anywhere with anybody, you want to go with the SEABEEs because once they build camp, up went the bar and the tent, the NWR tent and everything. Yeah, the builders. Because one of my best friends, he was a steel worker. And to this day,
Yeah.
we still hang out almost 30 years later.
Yeah.
We hang out all the time. And to watch those guys, what they would do, it was just cool, you know?
They are. They're a great team. And back to the Thailand trip. My favorite thing when I was in Thailand, I loved meeting those old American dudes that were retired living in
Yeah.
Thailand. Those old dudes that were in the Navy once upon a time and now they own the bar. And they're just like, hey,
Yeah.
and they took good care of us, man. They would they were solid, bro. And they're American as can be, but they just choose to live in Thailand and they have their culture. And I used to love meeting those guys because they would tell you those great stories as how it used to be even for them, man.
And the culture, the Thais are so friendly. You get over there. I remember we were at this one bar drinking, and my friends were builders, steel workers, and stuff, and we're all there. And something happened with the Mama San's bar. They went around and fixed it, then started doing work on the bar for her because we're there. We didn't have nothing to do while when we weren't standing watch. That equated to now when the ships would come in, that was our bar. So we would go there. We didn't have to pay for drinks or food because we had worked on all this stuff for her. And yeah, they were cool. I liked
Nice.
it.
So, yeah, it sounds like a great opportunity, an interesting deployment that's much different than your first one on board the ship. Were you 6 and 6 on the boat?
Yeah, we were always 6 and 6, man.
And so now you're on this different deployment where you're flying there or you're getting dropped off there, and now you're working these days. What I love about those kinds of deployments is like event based, right? Here's what we got to get done, but as soon as we get that done, we can be done for the day. Because on the ship, it's like that. That's never a thing. We're never done. Like we have to keep the
No.
lights on 24/7.
So you'd go there, right? And it was for the first, it might be like you're doing offloads or onloads for 2 weeks. So you're working hard for 2 weeks. Then there was a
Right.
time in between, and they were like, hey, so we're going to set up a watch build. Everybody's going to get a little bit of liberty. A lot of stories I'd really like to tell about that place and stuff, the crazy
Oh
stuff
yeah.
that we did, but I don't want to incriminate myself.
Yeah.
Um,
Don't. I'm not worried about that because
yeah,
ultimately that's all just part of the journey.
we would watch. We had a TIE fighter we were sponsoring. So we go to this
Right?
one. I think I can't remember the mom's bar. So we're in his corner, and the kid. We're betting money on him and stuff. But we're like fucking. He's fighting. The ships come in. A Marine gets in there, goes to fight our guy, and we're looking at, hey, bro, you're not supposed to be in here. He
Yeah.
doesn't wait till the fight starts. He just clocks our dude, lays him out. We're all like, what the? The guy's friend, the Thai guy, he had a friend that hopped in the ring, way smaller than him. Said, you fight me, bro. I ain't never seen feet move that quick. That Marine's nose went from like here to over here. His eyeballs were over here, and he was laid out. And then, of course, it came out where, hey, you guys can't be involved in the TIE fights. I'm like, oh, come on, man.
So at the end of your time with the beach group, you've now been in the Navy, what, 8 years, it sounds like.
So I was in the Navy. I came in 91. I left in 2000. I was still an electrician. I had orders to go to SEMA. Met my wife there, who was an engineman. We started dating, moved in together. We initially hated each other when we first met.
Sure, why
And
not?
then my charm won her over. I don't know. So we started going. When I was at ACB one was different from the fleet, but I was afforded a lot of opportunities there. I got my real first opportunities to lead. I became a command fitness leader as a third class. Then when I was a second class, we had to do a thing where I got to go to lifeguard school. And so we would teach water survival and stuff to the people that were coming in for the crafts.
Right.
And there was a time, the summer of 99, we did this thing called the offshore OPDS, or no, it's Navy lighters, where they basically build a pier similar to what they did in Gaza. This year, they would build a pier and there's a big exercise, but you had to have swimmers on the beach in case somebody fell over or something. So for that whole summer in 99 in Coronado, I got to play lifeguard on the beach. So while everybody's out there in their camis sweating, I'm walking around in surf shorts and
Yeah.
sunscreen. The good guys, man, they would mess with me. So they would intentionally drop tools in the water and have to go swim out and get them. One time, a Yokohama fender got away. I
Mm.
had to go swim out and then pushing it back on the water, and I'm pushing it back into the beach. it was easy, right? It's floating. The minute it hit the sand, I couldn't move that thing. I
Yeah,
was like,
that's a
"Hey, you
big
guys got to
thing.
get you got to get a dozer to go get that thing, dude."
Yeah.
But and then I got to go to the Cooper's Institute for Aerobic Research. They sent me to a 1 week course to become a certified personal trainer. It was the way that's when back in 2000 when the Navy was really going to that fitness portion and making trying to get everybody educated. They started a program, so I was one of the first people that got to go to that, and that's how I ended up going to the PRT office at SEMA. I had orders to go to SEMA. Thought I'm going to 51 Alpha. I'm gonna be back, fucking turning wrenches and everything else. When I checked in, the chief that was there somehow found out. He goes, "Hey, I heard you have this school." I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Do you want to come work here?" And I was like, "Yeah." Great tour at SEMA. Got exposed to a lot of command level things that normally wouldn't get exposed to. I had FaceTime with the CO, FaceTime with the XO, CMC, the Chiefs mess, different things. Had to facilitate a command level program. So there was stuff that I owed back to like PERS and everything else. So started seeing the effects of what happens if we didn't do our job, i.e., if I didn't keep up on your PRT stuff, if I didn't get your results moved in a timely fashion like they're supposed to, how
Right.
it'll affect your advancement, how it can affect your career.
Just so I understand, when you get to SEMA, you're an EM2, but they're putting you in a position where your primary job is to manage the command's fitness program.
Yeah.
For how many sailors are at SEMA?
There's definitely over 1,000 sailors at SEMA because this is
Okay,
back
so
in
1,000 sailors is significant. And I'm telling you, because I've not heard this before where there was somebody who got to have their primary job be a command fitness leader, even though I would argue there's a reason to do it at a minimum for program management, at a maximum to better help run things, right? And I would tell you that for my CMC hat, right? If you want to say command career counselor deserves a person, then command fitness also could deserve a person, especially somebody who's passionate about this in a real way. So to hear
yeah.
that you had that experience and to hear that your command had that perspective in 2000 is freaking pretty innovative, bro.
Now, I had a chief in a first class over me, but I was
Wow.
the CFL. So I was the one that was, when you came in, I was taping you. My name was going on your BCA. But when it came down to actual physical running of the program, interpreting the instruction, that came from me. So it was a lot of responsibility. And there were a couple times the CMC broke it off inside me. I learned a little bit about when to speak and when not to speak.
Yeah.
And it was good. It was good. Did that whole career, went up for sale of the quarter a couple times, went up for sale of the year, really started working. Wanted to make that. I wasn't planning on staying in though. I was going to get out. And I was actually at that time, I was interviewing and trying out for the Highway Patrol, California Highway Patrol.
And I was gonna ask you, bro, because as much as I love the fact you're doing command fitness program, how is that making you a better electrician? But I can hear now you're telling me, hey, I was thinking about getting out and I was looking at highway patrol. No wonder you were like, I don't care about being an electrician or not. I like being active and being fit.
Yeah. So
Okay,
did
so
all
you're looking at
that, rolled through all that, and then got accepted. Called in, they're like, "Yeah, we just got to do the psych test and a couple other things." And then the budget. Then that's in 2003 when the budget crashed in California. And they canceled all the classes. So they
okay.
canceled all the classes. I had a decision to make. They're like, "Hey, you can reapply, but you have to go through everything, and so it's not guaranteed that I'm going to make it." So I
Hmm.
was like, "Man, I got a job now. Talking about getting married, those next life steps." Decided I was going to stay Navy. Went to cross right over to MA when they were blowing that up. Had a disagreement with the MA detailer at the time on he was going to send me to Korea or he's going to send me to Diego Garcia, and I was fine with that. I was like, I'll go do a year in Diego Garcia. But when I did my interview, I did an interview with our MACM that was over at Beach Group with me, and he told me exactly this is what you need to do for your career path. And I was like, okay. And then when it came, I said, okay, when I leave Diego Garcia, I would like to do this. And he goes, no, you're not doing that. I was like, okay, can I get a ship? Because this is when warfare pins were starting to come into effect. I didn't have my warfare pin yet. I said, I need to go somewhere to get a warfare pin. He goes, you'll go where I tell you. I was like, I'm out, dude. I called the detailer. The EM detailer was like, yeah, we'll take you back. Went there, ended up getting orders to Lake Champlain, CG 57. And that career really boosted me up there, man. I got there. Man, I went from second class to chief in 2.5 years.
Hey, but you know what? Here's what I'll say before we go any further. So a couple things. Number one, I think you dodged a bullet by not going MA. Just
Yeah.
being honest.
Oh yeah, dude.
Just being honest, I think you dodged a bullet. Number two, you had a sailorization tour like none other when you were at SEMA, right? Yeah, you might not have been doing the most technical things in your rate, but you were learning how to work that the Navy as an institution, right? So
Yeah.
then once you're like, all right, I'm gonna be an electrician, guess what? It wasn't hard for you to pick it back up again, right?
No,
Because
no.
it's not rocket science. And now you go to the Champlain and you're like, all right, I'm staying Navy, I'm being an electrician, but I got all these new skills that I learned at SEMA running this command level program. And you use all of those soft skills, is what they call it in the civilian world, right? Plus your hard skills. And look, 2.5 years later, Chief Petty Officer.
Yeah, because checked on board, was a second class. Had a good chief I worked for, Chief EMC Ramos, and I later worked for Travis Burnett, who just retired as a commander. Gave me a lot of responsibility. We had a great Captain James McCarthy. Dude was like a pirate. I remember when I'm sitting in talking to him, and he's looking at me during when he signed on my check-in sheet. He goes, "All right, here's my philosophy. You don't have anything to do at 1400 on a Tuesday. Do it somewhere else." The captain was real big about big boy rules. This was still an all male ship at the time. We had some female officers, but it was all male. So there was what that had. We really got down and grinded it out. Worked hard, started getting some kudos and everything. Had a really great shop. I had a shop full of all stars, man. Every chief likes to say that, but it's truly these guys that I worked with that were in that shop. They were the best, man. They'd go out, work, didn't have to tell them, "Hey, did you do this or this?" It was done. Found out about gas turbines the first time we got underway. A deal on an LHA, man. Hey, you want to drop shore power? You're coming in the day before. You're lighting the plant off maybe 2 days before. Like your deployment's starting a week out. So I was like, "Hey, chief, what time do you want me to bring the guys in?" He goes, "Normal time. We'll drop shore power, then we'll go." And I was like, "Wait, we're gonna come in and then we're gonna drop, and we're gonna." He goes, "Yeah, it only takes us about an hour and a half to drop. We'll get everything done. We don't have to come in the day before." And then I was like, "We don't have to light." They go, "No, we just turn the keys, hit a button." And I was like, "We turn the keys, hit a button." Oh, I'm never going back to steam. But it's for me to have that attitude because I went to steam first and I learned how hard it was, how hard of a life those dudes have it. Because you go down there and you burn them in, right? Burnerman has to watch those 6 burners. They can't go to sleep. They can't take their eyes off them because if you lose fires, you lose everything.
Interesting, man. I was on an Austin class LPD and I was on Bellawood. Stood watching the plant both times. Even as a DC man, I'm standing watching the pit. But I'll tell you, the aircraft carriers, they get it too, bro. Those nukes are freaking wrenching. So I can relate, bro, especially when I saw different platforms. But tell me this, how different was the culture of engineering department on the cruiser versus the Peleliu?
So Peleliu was it was like unionized, right? You got your electricians, your A gangers, and your pit
Yep.
snipes. Pit snipe MMs didn't like A gang MMs, that type of stuff. But it all came together when you're on Liberty. There was a thing that we got into on my second deployment at the Seaman Center, Jabal Ali, where the Marines were there, and then the New Zealand Navy was there. One thing led to another. To say that's the first time I've ever been hit without ever seeing it, but it was everybody came together, right? It was like,
Yep.
that's our ship. We're going to handle that. The culture was hard work, miserable, but the dudes were down there 24/7 turning wrenches. It was a little bit more technical on the gas turbine. They still worked hard, but you saw a lot more responsibility given to people at a lower pay grade. Where
Because there's not as many people, right?
no,
On the gas turbine, there's just the crew size is about as big as engineering department on LHA. So engineering, there what I saw when I was riding ships ATG was on those small ships, there was a lot more kinetic conversation and like you
yeah,
said, technical cross training because there wasn't an obese amount of sailors, right?
no.
I would say there was always a little bit of a nuance between the GSEs and the EMs though.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I remember one time in no fault of his own, right? The GSC one we had,
Yeah.
we were on our deployment in 2004, and something was going wrong with the switchboards. He couldn't fix it. He didn't understand how to fix it, and we didn't own the switchboards on the GSCs did. So I get called down, and I'm getting yelled
Yeah.
at why the switchboard's not working. I'm like, dude, I don't own it. But the captain's like, you own it now. So I'm like, whoa. So me and my chief were in there working on it. And I got the print, the tech manual opening up, and I'm like, hey, check relay K6 should
Yeah.
be. And we're in there working it.
Yeah.
But the cool guys, man, they were funny. They
No,
helped
no,
me a lot out when I came for my EL
I'm
letter.
with. It's just that camaraderie, but it's also that sense of sibling rivalry, right?
Yeah,
Because you guys are both electrician types, but and it was the same thing on the aircraft carrier because you had nuke electricians and you had
yeah,
conventional electricians, and the conventional electricians owned freaking 90% of the ship. All the nuke EMs had to focus on was just the plant, and
yeah.
same thing, cruiser. You guys owned the whole ship's electrical distribution system. They only had to focus on their portion of the gas turbine world, and it's just it's a different beast. So when you're on board the Champlain, was that a 3-year tour?
No, that was a 4-year tour. So on there, I got there in November of 2003 and left in December of 2007.
Were you
Uh,
on board there with DCC Green? Was he there with you, Greg Green? No, I got to look him up. I think he did Champlain at some point in time. Okay, so was that your first EL letter?
yeah, when I got to ATG, I was a rock star chief who knew everything about engineering. That wasn't the fact when I was getting my EL letter as a chief. So I had to go back 3 times to my SEALs board. The
Yeah,
first time I got some lookups, I was already standing at the watch, went back. Captain found out that I was going back to ATG, or I had orders to ATG, and he made my board harder. I thought I was just going to go in there, answer the lookups, and that was it. No, I had a whole nother board. So I had to go back and take my EL letter a third time. When I talked to the XO, was like, no, this is what the captain wants. Sat down with our MPA. The MPA walked me through some things. And then I went in, dude, and I just talked about engineering to the captain for an hour and some change. He asked me one question. I started from the plant and went all the way through the ship on control valves and priority valves. And it was
yeah,
just, and he was like, what about it? I said, no, hold on, sir. I'm like, and I just kept going. And then the captain, he was like, okay. Then he looked at me and he goes, so can you put 2 generators? Do they have to stay at 60 hertz? Or can you put them at different frequencies? And I was like, they can go at different frequencies. He goes, are you sure? I was like, yeah, we can go down and do it right now. I do it all the time when we do sonar testing. He goes, would you bet your EL letter on it? And I wasn't clicking. He signed my letter, right? And I'm like,
yeah,
yeah, just go down right now. And he's like, relax, chief. He goes, here. I was like,
yeah.
oh, man.
I think it's
Um,
dope how well the commanding officers know their engineering platform for their ship, especially when you're on a cruiser. He's an '06, right? He's a
yeah.
major commander. He's been a command one, but he can sit there and have that conversation with you and know what you're talking about and understand it. That's how
Well,
educated these dudes are.
he was an old PED inspector too. Captain O'Connor, he was, and we had a really good XO, man. Captain, he's now Admiral Cruz, so he's still going. So whoever's underneath him, they're lucky. He's a great leader. On that tour,
Mm.
I learned a lot. I got a lot of exposure to starting out when I was a second class auditor, when I was a chief on major command programs. I was still a CFL, started doing VBSS on there, seeing all that. And when I left the ship, I turned over, I was the command DAPA. I learned a lot of sailorization on the way and I was blessed. I got to do a lot of stuff that normal snipes don't get to do.
How was your time on VBSS? Because I don't think people understand how active the Surface Navy was during like 2001 to 2008 when it was visit, boarding, search, and seizure, bro.
Yeah.
Because y'all were moving and y'all were boarding every Dow out there, damn near. And y'all were regular sailors. Y'all were-
So I went to school in 2005 when they first
okay.
started the whole new non-compliant course, which was totally different. You get over into the non-compliant course now, and they're like, yeah, whatever you learned over there, forget that. And you
Yeah.
got these old dev group guys teaching you, these team guys, Green Berets and stuff. And it's the day started at five in the morning where we're doing 2 hours of Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai and combatives. And you got choked out, right? They're like, who hasn't been? Everybody got choked out. That was the first time I ever got choked out. I'm like, I'm going to get them. And watching them go, ooh. They showed us how to shoot. They showed us how to do a bunch of stuff to where at the end of the course, you did your final thing and then you go back to the fleet. The problem I saw with VBSS later on in life, because I was active in VBSS on my next ship after that too as a senior chief, is the amount of training it takes with the weapons and everything. A lot of COs don't want to do it because one, they don't have the NCA and they don't have the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were over in the Gulf. We weren't supposed to board. The captain that we had, he had a bad incident when he was on his destroyer. So he told us, you guys aren't boarding nothing. We are not. No, your guns are going to stay there. McCampbell's up in the Northern Arabian Gulf, and boom, they tag it. I don't know how they hit a tanker, but they hit a tanker. They got booted out. We had to go up, and for a month and a half, it was just constantly slinging and banging back and forth, boarding ships. We got the Iraqi campaign medal for being up there, going back, doing a lot of stuff. And during that time that I was up there, I was off the Watchville. So
Yeah,
there was
that's the impact, right? That's the impact. I think that people don't understand the United States Navy, as unfortunately is always happens. We get tasked with additional things that we're not manned for, that we're not built for, and so then as we do it, we take it out of hide. And
yeah.
I think I remember the deployment in 2006, 2007. Were you guys out there when Kayot blew up and ABOT blew up, the oil terminal? No, I'm talking about when the oil terminals blew up off Kayot and ABOT, because I could have swore that the Commodore was embarked on board Champlain or something along those lines. But that's when I was out there on the Ogden, because we got the Iraqi campaign medal at that time too, being out there in those waters.
Yeah.
And I just remember how active it was, because the war on terror had been going on for a while. Now you have the Iraq campaign going hot and heavy back ashore. And of course, there's a lot of stuff happening on the seas that not everyone knows about, because the bad guys are trying to transport like weapons and drugs and guns and all kinds of crap. And our VBSS team, I had HTs on there. I had engineers. I had way more engineers than we were supposed to have, but it was surface snipes. I was letting my topside guys go because the pit guys, the watch boat couldn't support it.
Yeah.
They were gone so much that we were really hurt when it came to the ballast operations and whatnot, because these dudes were always gone. And of course, they're carrying firearms. Like, they need to have time to recover and to prepare. You can't just have them come back and be like, all right, screw you, go clean the head, bro. And for people that aren't doing those things, we're kind of like, must be nice to be out there having fun, being Rambo. On the reverse, you don't understand the danger they're really dealing with, because I came back and I went to school for ATFP, Force Protection, and I went through that Top Gun school, or the non-lethal weapon compliance school. I went through that school, and that's when I really learned about the things they want to teach them to be prepared for. We're very lucky some sailors didn't get jacked going on some of those boats they were boarding. You know what I'm saying? Because it was crazy.
And we were up there working with coalition forces, and the way you're outfitted is totally different, right? We saw that when the British came over, loved working with the Singaporeans, but we're out there in full tack gear now. We got Mark 18 rifles, short barrel, air top rifles. So when we show up, we're dressed differently than them. We're looking a little more intimidating. There was one time where it was me and the boarding officer. The lieutenant had to go out with the Australians, and they were going to search an Indian tanker. So they come over to get us. These dudes are in shorts, and they got a little sidearm. We come out full geared up.
Yeah.
We pull over to the thing. The tanker's riding high because it's going into the terminal to get oil. They dropped the ACOM ladder. Then they had to drop a pilot's ladder. Then we had to jump up on top of the console of the boat, jump up, grab the thing, and then climb up. So the Australians went first, and then the pilot's ladder, or the ACOM ladder, was so long for me and the lieutenant to run up. We had to run up in cadence. Otherwise, it was going like this. And so we're all sweaty, tired. By the time we get up there, the Australians didn't have control of the deck. It was chaos. We show up on deck, and I remember going, what in the F is going on? They looked at the Australians, then they looked at us, and they were like, oh, the FAFO people are here. We're going to stop.
Yeah.
But it's amazing when you see how people look at the American flag when you come over, when you're boarding these dhows, and they're just out there doing their business. But when there was one time we pulled up, this guy's boat was busted. He had a problem with his engine. We had a little bit of time. We radioed back to the ship, hey, can we work on it? They're like, yeah, go ahead and look at it. So we did a little bit of humanitarian stuff. We're able to fix his engine just enough to where he could get to the next port. And he tried to give us a bunch of fish, right? We always told the guys, hey, don't accept anything.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons was like somebody accepted a squid or something that blew up in the rib, and now there was black ink all over the place. But it was wild. That was a wild deployment.
It was, man. I just, looking back on those years, training Iraqi Navy. It was there was a lot going on during those years for sure, as we unwound everything we were doing out there in the fleet. So as you get ready to leave, let's go back to Chief's initiation real quick. How was your initiation season?
So that deployment in '06, when I left, I got a call from my wife, and we're about a month into deployment. I get an email, "Hey, I need to talk to you when you get a chance when you pull into port." And I'm like, "Damn, am I getting one of those?"
Mm.
So the time difference between Australia and San Diego was, so I'd been out with the boys a little bit that day. So when she woke up, I called her, and that's when she told me she was pregnant. My dumb ass, is it mine? I swear to God, she slapped me through the phone, dude. Of course it's mine, right? But I was trying to be
Yeah.
funny. And yeah. So we get back off of deployment. We turn back in July. Everything's going. I got this. Everybody's got that problem child sailor, right? So this is how I found out I'm HE. Trying to take care of the sailor's finances. We're over at Navy Federal. We're trying to get him a loan so that he can consolidate all his stuff, because he's at this time he's $90,000-$100,000 in debt, just
Mm.
everywhere, right? So we're trying to see what we can do. And Navy Federal's, hey, is he getting a loan to pay us back? And I looked at him and said, you owe them money too? And he just put his head down. And that's when my phone went off. It was my master chief, who was my divisional LCPO, that made master chief that deployment. He goes, hey, where are you at? And I said, man, I'm still at Navy Federal with Etherton, man. He goes, leave them, get back to the ship. CEO's not going to release the chief results until everybody's back on board. I was like, oh. So I grab the suit. We go back to the ship, and I'm coming across, and there's a list of 6 names on the quarterdeck. And I didn't put 2 and 2 together, right? When I came across, they checked my name off, because I didn't think I was going to make it. I took the test early. I made it early. So we get there, they announce us, and we go up to the mess. That first day, everything's all nice. And then we were told to be there at a certain time. And then it just rolled. For coming off of deployment, I was in great shape. So
Yeah.
PT wasn't a problem for me. I had been to like SEER school before. I crossed the line in '94. And one of the chiefs told me all this after I made chief. He goes, yeah, we were trying to figure out what to do with you. They found stuff, right? Because they're methodical in what they do. And I later got to see all the lessons that were taught throughout my first year as a chief. But I remember getting in there, and we're just going at it. We're serving. This is back before they changed the rules a little bit. So we're in the mess, just PTing away. We're up at 3 o'clock in the morning doing stuff. We're out there doing it. It was great. I initially hated it in the beginning, and I was like, wanted to strangle half the dudes that were in my face. And then once you break down that wall and you start accepting what's coming in, you see the leadership aspects, right? I tell people, even to this day, I had a guy that worked for me out in the civilian world. He's a reservist, and he called me up and said, hey man, I made chief. And I was like, that's excellent, dude. I was like, I'm proud of you, man. I said, the only advice I'm going to give you is you're about to find out a huge lesson in time management. And I said, that's all I'm going to tell you. My wife was pregnant. She's about to burst. My daughter was actually born 2 weeks later. So we're sitting there. We do the final night, everything. They took us over to Coronado Beach, and they put us in the water. And I was like, these motherfuckers ain't coming. These dudes ain't coming in the water to get me. So I'm not getting out. And
Yeah.
they were like, get out of the water. And I'm like, come get me. I'm starting to rebel a little bit. I'm like, come get me. And the
Yeah.
CMC goes, if you don't get out of the water, you're not getting pinned tomorrow. I was like, ooh, you call my bluff. Swim back in. They did a bunch of stuff. It was great. Went to go do the ceremony, and the corpsman was one of the baby docs, who used to be from labor and delivery. So he had his bag and everything set aside in case my wife, because she came in, dude, she was just huge. She was about ready to drop. Wife helped me out a lot during my season. So we had to do these things called ninth house courses. Now, full disclosure, my wife did my ninth house courses for me, and she let me sleep at night. I made it in '06.
So we made it the same year. I remember those stupid courses.
Yeah, because I started doing them, and I was like, oh. And she was like, and I would get, by the time I get back home around like 9 o'clock, I would have to be back up at 2:30 and back to the ship by 3:30 to do everything we had to do. So she just did the courses for me. So I didn't tell anybody. I kept that quiet until,
I'm telling
you
you, we were
know,
deployed
but
at the same time, bro, because we found out we made chief on the way back from deployment
yeah,
in July, late, like the end of July. And then, of course, pinned in September. We got no stand down from the end of the deployment. It was right into
yeah,
season and all that. So, yeah, I remember that. And that was the year that was transition. If you remember that, it was a unique year. It was initiation,
yeah,
transition, then induction. And no people that like
yeah.
they didn't know what to do with us. You had the
Oh,
guys who wanted to treat us
yeah.
like the year before. You had the guys who were like, screw all this crap.
The one thing I do remember was, so they kept asking me before we went to Coronado Beach for the final night. They were like, "Hey, so how long can you hold your breath?" I was like, "I don't know, man. I maybe 2 minutes right now if I need to." was like, why? They're like, oh, yeah, you're going to find out. Get to the, and they never used it, right? But they had a coffin from when they could do it, where there was a coffin and they would fill it with ice water and you would get inside and
Yep.
they would do things. And so when they
Yep.
got there, I looked at it, I was like, oh, shit, dude. That's why I got to hold my breath. But it was a blast. The stuff we did on the beach, we had fun. The white hat burial, everybody said their piece, and then you sit away and you see the whole significance of it. So the ability to go from day one outside of the mess to man to finally being accepted on the morning of before you get pinned was great. And I learned a lot of life lessons. I got humbled a lot. Right, I went in there hat in hand to some of them chiefs, and I had to talk to them, and they ended up teaching me a lot of stuff. It was hard to get that signature sometimes.
Like you went from EM2 to EMC on that one platform. So a lot of them dudes had known you through that whole journey. And then on the reverse, you would look up to them through whatever lens. And it's weird going from being like you're the chief to now we're gonna be like brothers. It's a mind trick, right? I did the same thing. I went from second class to chief on Ogden, and they raised me. Like a lot of them dudes raised me, and I remember having to talk to them the way they wanted me to talk to them was a little bit of it was hard at first because I'm like, you guys are like freaking chiefs, and I'm used to just saying yes, chief. And now you
Yeah,
want me to buck up and tell you how like I could be that guy, but I've never been that guy around you guys before. And to let that go is tough, but that's the point, right? And because at some you've got to put away all that stuff that you think is perfect and be authentic so they know we're just going to cut through the bull crap, bro. We're going to get right to it. What's going on? What's the concern? Where are we at? So after picking up chief, after getting your EAL letter, you got your first child. Are you now looking like what you're going to do next? And how did you know you're going to, did you want to go to ATG San Diego?
no. So my sponsor was an NCC, really good guy, Dave. He taught me a lot during the season, and I wanted to fly LCACs. That's when they opened it up and they said, "Hey, E7 and above can fly LCACs." So I was excited. I was stoked on it. I called the LCAC detailer. He talked to me, went through my record. He goes, "Yeah, you'll provided you meet all the qualifications, like when you have to go do the actual physical testing." He goes, "Yeah, we'd love to have you, man. Your record's good." I'm excited. I'm like, "Yeah." Put in my 1306 to go. EM detailer says, "No." And I was
Oh,
like, "Why?" I'm trying to go, and he's like, "No." He goes, "You got an EL letter?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be getting it. I'm just waiting on my board." He said, "I have too many chiefs and not enough Indians. If you have an EI letter, you're going to ATG." And my XO had already called, had told, because he contacted the XO, and XO said, "Yeah, Chief Ernst will have his EI letter." So I thought it was natural progression when you go stand your watches, become chief, get your EI letter. And that's what every EMC did. When I got to ATG, found out, no, they don't. There's a lot of dudes out there. I remember going on a destroyer and I was like, bro, why are you standing at FC watch? But got to ATG and it was a blessing in disguise where again now I get put in a leadership position where I got to qualify as an assessor, team lead, a lot of stuff, running my own team and doing things and with accountability, right? You remember it got wild there where when the service training manual came out, director, like if you screwed up, you had to go see the director of training. You had to explain why that shit didn't pass.
yep.
And they weren't buying. They just won't listen to me.
Yeah. No, that's
Seems,
part of the leadership skill, right? You had to convince them to listen to you. And I loved our years at ATG. I love the people that we worked with ATG. And truth be told, even in my leadership business now, I use the same model we used at a float training group. I go in, I do an assessment, I get the
yeah,
baseline, I'll tell you my recommendations, I'll give you a final end date so it's not a long term thing. And either you can work with me and we'll get you there, you can certify based off what you want to be or not. And that's it. And a lot of people in leadership positions really value that outside set of eyes. I got all of that from freaking being in a float training group, trainer and assessor. And you'd have those hostile leaders that wouldn't want to hear what you had to say. But if you were somebody who was a good leader, you could say, sir, this is why it's in the best interest of you and your team to work with me and my guys because we want to see you succeed. We want to
yeah,
see you certified. And then when they broke apart us between us and the assessors,
yeah,
I was also an assessor, but you had the whole second external thing of the officers that would come in. And it was like, you're not going to make me look stupid when these guys come out here and I told them y'all are ready and y'all
yeah.
are not ready. That's not going to be a thing.
And it was cool working with those guys because a lot of the assessors, they would come over and talk to us. They'd be like, "Hey, what pier are you guys gonna be on, Chief?" I was like, "Oh, we're gonna be on 7. Can you break away from that ship and go over and check the LPACs on this ship?" I'll go check it out. Yeah, boom. I do remember one time, and this was wild. So I got told to go to Mobile Bay. They came down and said, "Hey, can you go assess Mobile Bay's main space fire?" Because the assessor walked in and just, "Hey, I can't remember which assessor it was, but he goes, "Can you assess it?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm not doing anything. I'll go over there. The team's already on board. Are they ready? Do you have the hits?" And so he gave me the hits. And he said, specifically look for the 5-pound CO2 actuators for Halon. They were out of PMS.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. So I go over there. Bro, I hit the quarterdeck, and from the quarterdeck down to the chismes, I find 7 tag out violations. Main 2's down, main 1's down. Because at the first place I go is I look at them. I
Yeah.
go in there, I see our guys that are in there, Sam Sarmiento and them are in there, and I'm like, "Hey, are you guys ready?" And they're like, "Yeah." I said, "They're not safe to train, bro. Main 1 and main 2 are down." I talked to the Chang, and I'm like, "Hey, you guys aren't ready to cert yet. You need to do those bottles." I said, "I'll accept if you get one of the main spaces up." I said, "But the other one's not certed." And
Yeah.
we all know how long it takes to, you got to pop them. Nobody has spare CO2 bottles. You got to pop them off, weigh them, do everything. So then they go, I'm sitting in there in the mess waiting for them. And with the guys that I came with, Mario Gallego and that Mario, great dude. I still talk to Mario today. We talk
Right.
2 or 3 times a month. Mario showed me stuff when I was with him on the gas server team where he's, "Hey, when we find hits, we'll go to the Chiefs mess." We're in the Chiefs mess. We gave them the hits, however they do it. So I'm in the
Right.
Chiefs mess waiting. They come in, they get me. They're like, "Yeah, so main 2's ready." And I was like, "You guys weighed those bottles?" "Oh, we had spare bottles." Like, "You guys had spare bottles?" So I walked down there. They gun deck the tags. They didn't even read the PMS card because I was like, "This bottle's 4 ounces over, and this one's 3 ounces under, and it's 2 and 6. So
Yeah.
you guys are, it's down." So I'm in there. CMC walks in and he goes, "Hey, are you the assessor?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "We're just waiting on match sheet. We're going to hold fast here while they fix some stuff." And I wasn't throwing Chang under the bus or anything. I was just saying, he goes, so he sits down, he starts talking to me. He goes, "So you're up for chief?" And I was like, "Are you up for senior chief?" "Yeah, I'm up for senior chief." He goes, "Yeah." Because it'd be really bad if somebody called the board about you. And I was like, "What?" I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Cool. I'll be
Yeah.
back." Walked up to the quarterdeck, made a call over to the director's office over there, told him what was
Yeah.
going on. I didn't say anything about that. I think I left that for, I talked to Charlene when I got back and
Yeah.
Henry about it, but I left that alone. So I'm sitting there and man, all you hear is being commander, United States Navy arriving. Because I was trying to tell the XO because the CO wasn't on board. I was trying to tell the XO what was going on. He wasn't on board. So you hear Commander, United States Navy arriving. Commander, United States Navy arriving. Afloat Training Group Pacific arriving. Engineer Assessment Pacific arriving. So Captain Haas and all them are coming over now. And now it went from being a little thing to a big thing. And
Yeah.
that was one of those where I had to just stand on business and
Here's the
just
thing, and it's not even so much about the pounds or the ounces. It's about the fact that your whole program is now in doubt because you gun
yeah,
decked this card. And when your program's in doubt, if you're not going to do 3M, how do I trust you that anything is? That's the thing. People, when I left ATG and I went back to the ship, I had my mindset had grown. I had evolved from being a guy on a ship, just doing whatever I could do to keep the lights on, to learning. And thank God I did because my next ship was an aircraft carrier and it was nukes.
yeah,
They did not play, bro. Like you had to have all that. Similar to your story, I remember one time I'm on an aircraft carrier and one of my chiefs on my team, because I used to have a 10-man DC team on an aircraft
yeah,
carrier, and one of my chiefs, I gave him a chance to debrief a drill, and he started making, he wasn't using the word recommend. I came back at the end of the ride with a debrief report. I had 30 pages of references of all those shipboard instructions they were in violation of. I was like, bro, we could play games if y'all want to
yeah,
play games, or we can get along. And because unfortunately you'd have those moments where people in positions of power would want to try to flex on you because they think, oh, you're just the chief or whatever it is. Okay, bro, they can get real gully real quick, and there you go. And so I think it's dope that they came down there and supported you in that moment. There ain't no one for you to call like that when you're leaving ATG. Had you made senior chief already did you make senior chief at
No, so
ATG?
I made senior chief right after I left. That last year, I had a really good year at ATG, man. That last year, I think I was ranked 5 out of 150 or how many chiefs we had. I know I was in the
Nice.
top 5. was set up. So I knew I was making it, right? These numbers coming out, the write up was strong. Left ATG with a bunch of favors in my pocket, right? Not for doing illegal stuff, but just being, because like I said, I go back to Mario and Arnel Alcantara, who taught me early on about what it was like to be there. They said the words that always stuck with me at ATG was, it's real easy to be an assessor, right? It's real easy to be the guy that sits there and points fingers, but what's it going to look like when you're on the other side and that person you were pointing fingers at is now pointing fingers at you? They said, so I kept that with me. And on my team, I never took anybody out with me that wasn't going back to sea, right? Because I would tell them that. There were some times where I got into it with a couple guys where you're the team leader, it's your decision. And we had one ship, it was Chancellorsville, we were coming back from, we met them at Rimpack and we're coming back. They were getting little hits on their main space fire. I was like, all right, we're going to move on, dude. I'm going to assert it. It's fine. I'm not going to sit here and waste time. We got to do the drills. And one of the chiefs got mad. And he's like, no, he blew up through the EOS at me. We went and had a talk in the cruiser. We went into the lounge, shut the doors, and we had a discussion. He came out seeing things my way. But what I explained to him was like, if we sit here and we just pigeon pick this one point, we're not going to get anything else done. And there's a bunch of other stuff that had to get done. We're going and we're training for a week and a half. We have to hit certain wickets. Came off of there, really good, really strong tour. Didn't know where I was going to go because I was out to sea for one of the cycles, so I missed order cycle. So they had Diego Garcia was back on the hook. I think it was the Emirates Land was down there. Bro, my whole career I've been doing Diego Garcia like this. Yeah,
Emirates Land was in DG at that time.
Yeah, so I told my wife, I said, hey, I don't think I'm going to duck it, man. I think I'm going to this is where I'm going. And there were no top snipe billets. So I called the detailer and I'm like, hey, match sheet XYZ. He goes, hey, he said, pick a 3M billet. And I was like, ooh, I'm not doing 3M, man. No way. And he goes, hey, PJ, you're not at 20 years yet. So pick Antietam or Kid. And he was doing me a solid by not sending me to the land. So I was training Kid at the time. Kid was a new destroyer, only a couple years old. I was like, all right, let me go check it out. Let me go talk to the CMC. The CMC was Daryl Green. Really good dude, man. Between the time it took me to get from the office, go over there and talk to Daryl, detailer had already called him. Daryl already accepted me. So I was going there. And it was cool because, one, that was my last ship I was really training at ATG. It was in my benefit to make sure that they were successful.
Yeah.
Twofold, right? So that they look good, but also this is what now the XO had checked in Commander Ellinger, who's going to be the CO. She's going to be my CO when I'm on board. So in that light, I want to make a good impression, with the crew that I'm about to become part of.
Yeah.
Went to 3M school, got to the ship, did everything we had to do, and found out we went out on Comp 2X and found out I missed Senior Chief. Was still doing VBSS at the time here. When I got to the ship, they saw that I had all the quals and everything. So they were like, hey, we're going to put you back on the team. I was like, I really don't want to do it. They're like, you're going to go back on the team. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't stand any engineering watches while I was on Kid. I stood combat systems, anti-terrorism tactical watch officer. I had gotten my FIP wall. I forgot I got my FIP wall qual when I was on Lake Champlain. We needed a force protection watch officer when we were down in Mazatlan. And I was the new chief that didn't have a watch yet. So captain boarded me, signed it off. This is the timeline when they just took out Osama bin Laden. So everybody was standing at Atwell and they didn't have enough.
Yep.
Get ready to go doing stuff and get called up to go see the combat systems officer. And they're like, hey, you got an Atwell letter. We're going to give you a quick board. And I was like, what's an Atwell letter? And they're like, it used to be called FIPO. I was, oh, yeah. So I look over their CCRs and everything, the procedures, take the board, boom. Now I'm legal, right? I got batteries release authority.
Yep.
And from that on, stood Atwell in port, section leader, underway, did my 3M stuff on deployment during Straits transits and stuff. Was down at Atwell.
How was that though? Was that a nice breath of fresh air though, being not in engineering on that ship? Did you enjoy that part?
Yeah, because so I will say that 3M tour was probably my most fun tour because engineering is engineering. You're locked in on everything below the waterline. Here, I got to talk to everybody. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about combat systems, supply, got out there. I got to stand different watches. I was standing watch on the bridge when we were doing Straits transits.
Yeah.
things like that. Learned a lot.
I will tell you, brother, you are a perfect candidate for command senior chief. That's all I'm thinking in my head. In my mind, I'm like, oh, PJ is a perfect candidate for command senior chief because you not only know your rate and did very well in engineering, but you had the tour as the command fitness leader. Now here you are running another major command program, and you're serving the command in a topsider role as far as ATWO combat systems. What made you decide to not want to possibly look at going into the command route? And because you retire after this ship?
No, I went to LCS run and retired. So I retired as a senior chief. I did 26. I wanted to make
Okay.
master chief. So did everything great on kid. We
Right.
at the time we scored the highest in 3M on the waterfront. We got a 93. Wasn't something that I did special, but it was what the sailors did. The sailors completely knocked it out of the park
Okay.
for the inspection. Ran my program like I was supposed to.
I'm sure the CMC loves you to death, bro, because I would have paid money to have a 3MC that wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
So I would imagine you and the CMC were freaking, you were probably a right hand man. You're a senior chief, you're on the boat, you're available, you're interested in doing all these other things. You're already good at a bunch of things. What made you decide to go? Did you want to go to LCS after
No,
the
so when the time came, my CO, Commander Ellinger, had went to become the chief of staff over at LCS Ron.
Yep.
And there was no orders in San Diego. I get a call from the detailer a couple weeks later when I hit my window, and he's like, "Hey," I said, "Dougie, what's up, man? What do you got?" And he goes, "We got you got two BNRs." And I'm like, "What's a BNR?" And he goes, "You have a binding request." I was like, "Oh, is that a good thing or a bad thing?" And he goes, "It's a good thing. The first one is ATG. They want you back." And now Captain Shaw was the CO of ATG.
Yep.
And when we came back off deployment, we went over there for the initial Teser meeting, and Captain Shaw talked. We caught up for 20 minutes while the whole CO, EXO, and everybody's in there. EXO was getting irritated by it. Captain read the room and was like, "No, let him talk," because he was like, "Hey, talking with me. Do you have a problem with me borrowing senior chief to do assessments?" "Oh, sure, go ahead, take them." Because I was actually doing assessments because Henry Gomez he left ATG and went to be the SEL for Desron 21. So he was our ISIC. So he would call me up every now and then, and I would go and do assessments on Desron ships. So little stuff, get out there, help the team. It was like, I don't know if I want to go back to ATG, man. That was rough, dude. I almost got divorced 3 times there because it was hard. It was,
Underway a lot. Yes, sir. I
yeah,
do.
it was like, hey, at the time, my daughter was real young. My wife was doing her master's program. And so we would come and try to plan things. And we would go for run hard for 6 weeks, come in for 2 weeks. But then there
Yeah.
was a problem with team leads. I can't remember which director of training it was. It came to a time where they only trusted 3 people to team lead gas turbine ships. And I
Oh,
was one of them. And so I got a call on the weekend. They were like, hey, you need to be on Pier 5 at 5:30. You're getting underway for 2 weeks. I was like, no, man, I'm supposed to be. And they're like, no, that is yours. Be there at 5:30. And I'm like, oh, so those things when we're supposed to do plans
yeah.
made it hard. I
Yeah.
was like, what else, Dougie? What else do you got, man? He goes, LCS Ron. And I was like, because I did the initial LOAs on freedom and independence.
Yeah.
And so I was like, is that on sea duty, on staff? You know, it's staff duty. You're going to go there. It's in San Diego. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll take it. Took it, went over there. So we're on the ship now and we're doing stuff. And we had TMI, 3M inspection, and INSERV back to back. We killed them all, right? So we had a stumble during INSERV when one of the combat systems chiefs didn't run OXOC correctly and it screwed it up for us. And this is a direct quote from the INSERV inspectors. He said that at that point we were down curved, but INSERV watched the crew, the blue shirts, how much they cared about their systems and their ship. And this was the culture on kid at the time. The blue shirts carried it through. They carried that inspection. Just
Right.
like when we did the 3M inspection, they carried their I think we only dropped two spot checks and it was on some shady stuff. Right. One of them I was like, I'm not going to argue with the assessor that night that they passed.
Yeah.
But the blue shirts really came through. So we locked in all that stuff going on deployment. Comes time to put my master chief package in. Right. So I look at it. When I signed my eval, I was ranked behind the top snipe, which was fine. Right. I was number 2, must promote. I was like, okay, boom. It didn't have the Riska on it. So I asked, hey, what's the Riska? The captain was like, I said, am I above Riska? He goes, yeah, you're above Riska. Don't worry about it. You're good. My mistake. I signed it, walked away, thinking that I've done nothing that I'm going to get taken care of here. Go to do my package for Master Chief to put it in because my eval wasn't in there. Go get it out, look at it. They didn't submit my eval correctly so there was no RISCA on it. And I look at the overall stuff, I'm way below RISCA. So the top snipe was way above and I'm way below. I was like, go see the CMC. CMC was like, she wasn't there at that time. So she said, I can't answer to that. So I immediately dropped shit, go talk to the captain. Bypass, XO, go right to the captain. And me and the captain have words about it. Long story short, didn't get it right. So now I know I'm not putting on 9 now because you're out at sea. No matter where you're out at sea, you're below RISCA. It sends a message to the board. So from that point on, for the rest of the cruise, I did everything possible to make sure that my guys and everybody was taken care of. Transferred off, went to LCS Ron, met with them, checked in early. 100 chiefs at LCS Ron, 100 people in the mess. I was only there for 2 months. I got an MP. And then the following years, I got ranked EPs with 5.0 evals. So continued working hard, but I really made the decision in 2016 to retire was because my wife had a brain aneurysm. So we were out at a jiu-jitsu function. One of my gyms had opened up a second gym in Eastlake. So we were there for the opening, had everything. We went out to eat that night. My wife went up to go to the bathroom and she was in the bathroom for a while. So I sent my daughter in, who my daughter was like, she was like 6 or 7. Yeah, she was 7 at the time. Or no, she was 6. I'm sorry. She goes over there and then they come back and my wife's, oh, I got a really bad headache, yada, yada. I was like, okay, let's go. So we go out to the car to go back and she sits on the bumper of our Jeep and she's, I don't feel good. Take me to the hospital. So we go, get there. They admit her right away. I'm parking the car and they said, oh, there you go. Take her. She's got a brain aneurysm. We're keeping her here. Had to call my parents. It's like midnight. They come get my daughter. And then for the next couple of days, they didn't know what was going on. And then they let me sleep in the room. I was able to stay in the room. She goes in Monday morning for surgery. They tried to do like a thing where they go up in your leg to your brain. They couldn't clip it, so they had to do actual brain surgery. She goes in Monday, gets it done, and I'm worried, right? It's a long surgery. The doctor tells me, hey, go home. So I don't know what to do. I still haven't told my daughter because I don't want her to be worried, but she's not at school. She's staying at my parents' house because I got to be at the hospital. Get a call from the doctor. The doctor says, hey, she's out of surgery. Everything went well. It's good to go. And I got to give it up to Balboa. We talk about Navy medicine and we're like, oh, this stuff. But for what they had to do, it was the best place to be because they had some of the best neurosurgeons on staff and they took excellent care of her. So she goes, she makes that recovery, and then she's here today. But at that point, I decided I was like, man, I'm out. I'm retired.
Life's too short, bro. I feel you, man.
But I don't drop my papers yet. I'm still doing my thing. Now, remember when I said I had a lot of favors from when I left ATG, right? And not favors like you owe me this. It was just the way I treated people and the way I was told and shown to treat people. They returned the favor and helped me. So I'm now over at LCS Ron. I'm dealing with the mess that is LCS now, right? I'm running the 3M program over there, and I have to go to one of the ships. One of the ship's captains, to make a long story short, his head was bigger than what it was. He comes in, starts screaming and yelling, talking mess about me because I came from a destroyer and I don't know LCS, yada yada yada. Whole room of people. I'm just sitting there, okay. I'm just taking it. I'm just okay. We get going, and I explained some things to him. I was like, I do know a little bit about LCS. I did the first 2 LOAs on him. He had a problem with his 43 Papa 1. There were a bunch of hits in there. He throws it at me. He goes, this is your work. And I was like, I didn't do this, but let me look at it. So I went through. I was like, so your 43 Papa 1's fine. These hits, it'll take you 20 minutes to fix. There's nothing major in here. The XO didn't know what he was looking at, but some of the hits in there weren't hits. At the time, LCS had a real weird way they did business where the 3MC was on shore. And then they would send stuff back and forth. So my 3MC didn't have a handle on what was going on over there. Captain starts yelling at me, screaming, slamming the table. I'm just like, okay, I'm letting him vent. And then it got to a point where I was like, shut my notebook, said, hey, I don't work for you. Got up, walked out, and he's, get back in here now. I said, I work for the Commodore and I'm going to go talk to the Commodore. Little backstory on it was the maintenance officer and the civilian hole manager that were on staff with us had came to us a couple of times and had complaints about the CO. So me and the lieutenant commander I worked for, he went over there the previous week to go talk to him just to see what was going on. He wasn't on board, so we talked to the XO, and the XO was like, "Oh no, the captain just wants to meet the team." That's far from the truth on that one. So I get back to the command, and I'm just like, "Wow." Go back, talk to my deputy because my N4 was out, so we had a civilian deputy N4. Go talk to him, explain everything that's going on, and I was like, "Hey, standing by." Commodore was there. The incoming Commodore used to be the CO of Halsey when we were all on board training it. Good dude, Jordy Harrison, great. He's out in Hawaii because LCS-4 Coronado had a problem and couldn't make it past Hawaii to get to deployment. So in the next couple days, we go from that happening to I get called into the CMC's office, and me and the CMC didn't get along. This dude was just an interesting person. I'll just
Yeah,
leave it
yeah.
at that.
I'm sorry, bro. I am not surprised to hear that, but okay. Track
And
it.
he's I got you. I finally got you. And I was like, what do you got? He goes, there's been stuff that you were disrespectful to our captain. You're being written up. And just like the face you just made, I went, okay. I was like, so did you
Bro.
guys talk to anybody in the room? Who would we talk to? And I was like, why don't you talk to the lieutenant that was there and the civilian that were there before you do all this and find out what transpired?
Yeah.
So he gets up and goes. Gone for 45 minutes. And I had an interaction with the chief of staff at the time who came from the LCS and was their CO. So this guy that was the CO used to be his XO. And me and him didn't see eye to eye on it. And so everything comes out in the wash, right? That no, that's not how it happened. What senior chief said, that's exactly how it happened. He didn't yell
Right.
at the CO. He didn't threaten the CO. He didn't do nothing. He calmly closed his notebook and said that, hey, I don't work for you. I'm leaving. Go back there. And it's funny, man, because every time that CO would be in the building for something, he was just like a hot mess, right? The dude would be hands in pockets, uniform out of rags. Commodore comes back now from where he was at, comes into my office and is choking me. He always used to stop back there and say what's up to us. He's choking me. He goes, hey, stop giving my COs a hard time. And I was like, sir, that's like, don't worry about it. We go through later on, sitting there. His CMC comes up to me and goes, oh, like in the spring, oh, your boy's been took care of you. And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? Now, mind you, this was the CMC that let all this happen instead of stepping in and going, sir, before we continue, because there were some chiefs in there. There was a couple first classes. There's some people that got to leave the room. If we're going to go down this route, there's some people that got to leave the room. And the whole time, like I said, when the captain was yelling and screaming and slamming the table, I was just looking around.
So this is the ship CMC that's telling
Yeah,
you your boy took care of you. I
yeah,
still stuck on the fact that your CMC said we finally got you or whatever it was. So you got two E9s to worry about here.
yeah. So the other CMC, our staff CMC was weird, man. He was like up and down. There was a whole nother story for that dude.
But so now the boat CMC, who went command senior chief, picked up 9 probably, and now he's trying to act like you got protected by the Commodore.
Yeah, and he came over, and he came over when that all happened, and was like, "Hey, the captain wants to. What are you going to do? Are you going to tell the Commodore?" And I said, honestly, bro, I don't know yet. I'm absorbing all this stuff right now. I'm letting it just,
Yeah.
I'm just doing it.
Like you just said, your commanding officer was off the chain and you didn't do nothing to
Yeah,
calibrate that to slow that down. Protect your CO, bro. That's what you
yeah.
should have been.
So when he came over that day and told me, "Oh, your boy hooked you up," what had happened was the captain had came over to sign his eval or his fit rep and didn't get recommended for major command. Now, it was not because of what happened between me and him. That was a very small thing. This same CO had caused incurred $1 million in costs while the ship was at NASCO by doing stupid stuff, pissed off the Swarmic CO, where the Swarmic CO pulled all of Swarmic off the ship. So
Yeah.
production stopped for a couple of days. And when production stops, the LMA is going to look at the government and be like, penalty and that stuff
Just so
incurs
I understand,
fast.
is the CO of an LCS, is it an 05?
Yeah, it's an 05.
So it's an 05 tour for a SWO, and that's their first tour as commanding officer.
Yeah.
He's probably just freaking pissed off because that's a crappy first tour CO. Like,
Well,
let's
now,
be honest.
but you move forward now to this day and age, LCSs are doing great things out there. They're doing a lot of stuff. You have the Carney that was out there shooting down, which the CO I was stationed with at both Kidd and Lake Champlain, Jeremy Robinson, doing great things, right? The sailors doing amazing things out there. So A lot of
So
your
they just had to
LCS
come through
sailors.
that first iteration, right? Those first few
Yeah.
generations, and find a mission for them that is what they were built for, but it took a while to get there.
So
And
the first iteration of those guys was hard for them because, and this is just my opinion, right? This is PJ's opinion. This isn't the Navy's. This isn't anybody that worked for now. I think they should have stuck with just making one variant, one two variant, and testing them, and then picking one. Not, hey, we want them and want them all, because just that they didn't have the crew structure figured out. You had sailors that were going over there and doing everything, then getting burnt out quick.
I'll tell you the other thing where I think they mess up, and this is the Navy does is I feel like we should be platform specific sailors, right? Whether you want to hear
Yeah,
that or not, people listening to me, I think that's how it should be. So, for example, if I'm a D seaman that does carriers, I should only do carriers because when you take a D seaman who's only done like DDGs and you put them on a carrier, they're underwater because there's a
yeah,
lot of stuff they don't know. I show up a DC1, DCC, DDG dude. I don't know what I'm doing on an LCS. There's so much nuance to that that the Navy does not. I remember when the LPD 17s came out and people didn't know how to do the things that made it unique. And
right.
then just tell us, oh, the concilium sensors don't work or whatever it is. Like, bro, but the crew size is meant for you to be able to know how to use all that technology. But you only get those schools if you're standing up the crew. You don't get them when you just lateral over there 10 years down the road or whatever it is. And I feel like that's where the Navy does a bad job of preparing for the longevity of the crew. So hearing all this crap that goes on with these people, I mean, that's all just adding more fuel to your fire to be like, I'm done with this freaking with people that can just talk to you any kind of a way or do whatever. That's a problem.
Yeah,
That you're not gonna no, bro. I don't care who you are. You don't when you say that to somebody, you're no longer fit in my position, in my opinion, to be a fair representation of who you're supposed to be that person's advocate, not say we got you. What the hell, bro? That's crazy to me. To have this commanding officer yelling at you in front of everybody, and you're not even a ship's company over some 3M administrative discrepancies. He's got bigger stress problems, probably. He needs to get that
yeah,
looked into. And I agree, unfit to be in command because if you're not able to manage your emotions to the point where you're not going to cuss out a senior chief petty officer in front of a bunch of people and you're the CO for the command, like that's a concern, bro. And then, which is probably part of what the Commodore took all of these data points, right? They take all the data points and they say, you're probably not the guy that needs to continue on in the command pipeline as a surface warfare Navy.
yeah.
I'm sorry to hear all that, bro. And unfortunately,
Well,
I'm not surprised. I am a little surprised by the Master Chief that said, we finally got you. That if I hear anything that surprises me, that's the one that really surprises.
so it was an interesting thing with that guy, and I'm not going to drop his name out there, but
Yeah,
I waited. I went to his office and I said, "Hey, Master Chief, you're out of uniform." He goes, "What are you talking about?" I go, "Your national defense ribbons are wrong." He had a national defense ribbon with 2 stars on it. I was like, "Unless you were on active duty in Vietnam, you don't have it." And he
yeah,
goes, "Yeah, they've ordered it twice." I was like, "Yeah, the first time you got it, there was no star, and a star is awarded for each subsequent award." Dude never changed his uniform. All his professional pictures out there, everything going on. And it had been
yeah,
brought up when I would talk to other CMCs and stuff that I knew, and they would come over and see it, or they would look at it and they would laugh at it. And it was what it was. I did my part. I didn't call him out in front of the mess meeting. I went up talking like an adult.
yeah,
For the LCS crews, I will say this. So I've seen some of and the LCS gets a bad rap, right? Because you never hear the good stuff. You always hear the
yeah,
bad stuff. A lot of those sailors out there, you have junior sailors, second classes, first classes, doing amazing things, working, know their systems, know exactly what's got to be done when something's broke or something's fixed, they know how to fix it, get it back up.
yeah,
The program itself is coming around. Me, I would have loved to made Master Chief, but I think everything goes, there's a plan for everybody. And when I retired that following year, had my retirement, had about 150, 200 people at my retirement. It was great to see everybody. And then
yeah,
I continued to work in the LCS community where I got a job in the program office, working for PMS 505, worked there for a couple of years, and then my waterfront rep and just working Naval Surface Warfare Center, Port Hueneme. The guys that were down here in San Diego approached me. I'd worked with them before, asked me what my plans were, and then they brought me over to be a combat systems project engineer for the LCSs. So I went from being a snipe to a combat systems project engineer, and now I'm the task lead.
That's awesome, bro. We can always find reasons for why things happen. And I'm very grateful that you were able to be there with your wife when she went through her medical thing. I'm very grateful that the surgeons at Balboa were blessed and took good care of your family, right? And that you had family local to you that could support you guys through all of that, through all that
Yeah,
chaos. And I'm glad that you were able to come through all that freaking crap at the workplace and still continue to want to be around that community and not bail on them because they need people like you that want to continue to contribute to them because that's the only way those kinds of communities are going to continue to thrive. So I think that's dope, bro. And I appreciate you sharing the story, man, because I think people got to understand that we all go through things and we all need to understand that everybody has challenges, everybody has stories, everybody has things that they coulda, shoulda, would have done. But life, no takebacks, man. Once you make a decision, stand on your business, keep it pushing, and be
yeah.
okay with where it goes and make it better tomorrow.
And I want to say, like, the one incident I had there, that was just a very minute one-time thing, right? The majority of my time at LCS ROM was it was a good time, good members in the mess.
Right.
We had fun. A lot of times I worked with a lot of great chiefs when I was in N4. We got to do a lot of stuff, meet a lot of people.
Hey,
For,
I remember when
for me,
LCS round was like ATG part two, bro. Everybody was going from
uh,
ATG to LCS. Remember that?
yeah. If I had to sum up my career in a single sentence, I would say that I had more good times than I had bad times, and that's
Yep,
what kept me around. The only reason I got out was because it was twofold, right? My wife just had a major surgery, and my daughter was when I retired, she was turning 10. For the majority of that time, I was gone her life. I was underway, whether I was on a ship. I deployed I
I get
deployed
it,
three
man.
times while she was growing up. And a lot I'm not significant, right? There's a lot of people out there that they go and I watch these single parents and I gotta throw my hat out there too. Like a lot of these single moms and dads that still come to the job and do it. But for me, I was at that point where I was like, I want to be a part of my kid's life and I want to move forward. And for me, it was great. Family life is awesome.
Yeah. No, brother, I understand 100%. And I will tell you, people like you and I, we all I did was the United States Navy my entire adult life, right? And so this is my comfort zone. And even with what I do in my retirement as a high school teacher, I love the fact that I still get to be Master Chief every day when I talk to these kids because that's a part of who I am and my identity. And I was afraid, a little piece of me was afraid to let that go because of how much holistically it is a part of
Yeah.
me. But I will tell you, I remember I was going through a rough patch and I did the math. I was like, okay, if I retired today, here's how much I would make in retirement pay. And then all of a sudden, I had never even allowed myself to think that way before. But all of a sudden, it got real clear real quick. I was like, you know what, bro? And like you, I had devoted so many times to be away from my family, underway. And my wife had never asked me to not do it until the end. And I could tell she was, you got to get off the ride someday, bro. Why not
Yeah.
now? And honestly, then it became hard to focus because I was like, oh, you're right. Let's go. What else could we do that's out there? And I do think it'd been different if you could have stayed Navy. If I could have stayed Navy until I was like 70, who knows, right? But when they tell you you're going to have to get out before your 26 year or your 30-year mark, whatever it is, no matter what, then I start looking at options earlier, right? What's the best thing for me and my family then?
Yeah.
So I hear you, bro. And I think everything else, we all have those, unfortunately, those stories throughout our career. And I like talking about the tough times because I do think it's therapeutic to get it out and to bounce it off people and to be like, yo, am I crazy, dog? And I would tell you, you're not crazy. Everything you just told me, I think you understood it all correctly. And they were in the wrong. But on the reverse, those are the things that haunt us. And we don't spend enough time thinking about all the great things that we
Yeah.
had, which is why we chose to do it. Hey, I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. I've got a few questions for you, dog. All right.
What's
So,
up?
looking back at your career, 26 years, and even now, life after the military and doing what you do, which is leading a team in the combat systems realm, do you have a most valuable favorite leadership lesson that you picked up along the way?
Yeah, I have a couple. It was, but I would have to say I learned it at ATG, single point of failure. Don't have a single point of failure. So like right now, I deal with adults. Qualified, all my guys, they're all qualified, board certified combat systems product engineers. Every single one of them, male and female, can go and do the job. If I have to leave, yeah, my engineering knowledge comes with me. But I try to teach them as much as I can about that side. But there is no single point of failure. That's so that I would say that's the and time management.
I love it.
Funny story was like when we were at ATG, right? Remember that's when they came out and they said, "Hey, you got to get a college degree." So I remember rolling over to a Navy campus. I got my smart transcript with all my stuff,
Yeah.
given to them. They're like, "Yeah, you took a lot of tech courses, blah blah blah. Blah. You probably only got to do X amount of courses." And they were, "What do you want to do?" And I was like, "What can I do that I don't have to take a math class?" And they're like,
Yeah.
"Supervision and management." I was like, "Stay less. Let's do it." And when I say time management was, I actually got in trouble with college because I knew my schedule of going out to sea and I had time this one weekend. So I used the whole weekend and did the coursework for that entire semester because I knew I had the time there and I wasn't going to have it again. The instructor had a problem with it. He emailed me, said, "Hey, I was going to fail the class because I did that." Talked to Navy campus. They talked to the military office at the college I was going to and explained it, and everything came up. Hey, yeah, we get it. There was nothing that said the coursework couldn't be done ahead of
Yep.
time. And, that was back when if you fail a course, you got to pay Navy College back. But yeah, it's no single point of failure in time management. That's the
I'm
biggest
with it.
lessons. And
I use both those myself to this day, and I agree. No single point of failure, no MV
yes,
red line. Whatever that means to you, in my mind, a red line is something that if I trip that, it's a huge problem, and we need to talk about it, right? And I've got red lines in my life that I leverage and that I use, and I think everybody needs to know what are your non-negotiable areas that you're going to allow to be indicators that you got a problem. Okay, next up, what do you see as the biggest leadership challenge across organizations today?
social media. I would have to say social media because it's so easy to get, especially with AI, right? It's so easy to get misinformation through social media, and everybody's locked into their phones. You look at all the election stuff that went on and all the different things, and people were going back and forth in the rumors. I think the leadership challenges are now is how do you manage what's your people should know vice what they're getting off of social media. I've seen it
Yeah.
like the school, and you look in schools, right? Schools are going back to where no cell phones while you're in class. You got to go learn.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm with it, bro. And I agree. I think social media technology, communication is all a challenge, right? All right, next up. As a person who's raised a very healthy young person, she's currently just finished her first year of college. A lot of my listeners are they're either teenagers or they're parents of teenagers. What advice would you give to them from your leadership experience as to how that leadership perspective helped you to be a good dad for your kid?
I would say being an active listener, listening to what's going on. It's funny when I talk to my daughter, sometimes she'll say, "You're not listening to me," but I am listening to everything she says. For the success of my daughter, I can't take a lot of that credit. That I have to give that credit to my wife because my wife's very intelligent and smart. My daughter, amazing with math and her drive of what she wants to do. When you listen to them, and sometimes their problems might seem minuscule to you, but it's big to them. It's like when 2020 went down between COVID, the BLM riots, and everything. There was a lot for a young person to go through, and it was seeing some of the stuff that my daughter would follow on Instagram or some of the things that she would say because she was younger. Do I choose to get mad or do I choose to listen and then talk about it?
Yeah.
And having patience, right? Don't try to do everything at once. The smartest thing I've ever heard was people say, "How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time." So take it one step at a time. Make a plan, put that plan, and then walk through your plan. But like Mike Tyson said, everybody's got a plan until they get hit in the face. I think
Yeah.
for me, a lot of my daughter's drive and everything came was she was put into martial arts very early on when she was 5 years old. She trained jiu-jitsu from all the way that she was 5 until age 15 when she had to she played volleyball year round for her school. So there's a lot of things that kids learn about themselves when they're put in uncomfortable positions. One of the proudest moments I think as a dad was I had to go talk to my daughter's principal. He defended one of her friends from a bully, and they got into a fight. My daughter was crying at the table. I thought she got hurt. I was like, "Hey, are you okay? Did something happen?" She goes, "No." She goes, "I'm not going to be able to get into college now." I was like, "You're going to be fine.
Yeah.
You're going to be all right." If there's one thing that I could tell parents to do would be get their kids active and stuff, not just baseball, football. Get them active in some type of martial art that puts them in uncomfortable positions because as you age and as you get older, you're going to be placed in uncomfortable positions. And the more confidence you have in yourself, the less you're going to be to like we make chief, right? What is it? They used to tell us, hey, what are you going to do when the captain puts you on the blue carpet? Are you going to mouth back to him, or are you just going to take it?
I will tell you, my most challenging tour, I believe, was my senior chief tour after ATG. I've never had my career threatened more during than those 3 years. And I remember just being locked in and being able to maintain my bearing. And I give all that to my chief's initiation, bro, because they prepared me for that level of stress to be like, my whole I mean, that was hard, right? And yeah, I agree with you, bro. And that's what I agree. Parents listening out there, and he's not saying be mean. He's just saying help your children to have opportunities where they can learn to be comfortably uncomfortable. And maybe do that for yourself as well, because the leadership we give them by example is way more than what we tell them to do. You are wearing the BJJ shirt right now. You roll.
So I took a year hiatus off because age and got some injuries caught up with me, man. But me right now, I'm 220 pounds, big, still lift weights, still lift heavy. When I go and roll, I have 140-pound people roll me up.
It's all about leverage and position.
It's all about being
Yeah.
smart. So yeah, but uncomfortable positions because you see like a lot of kids. We came up back in the day where you went to McDonald's and Dad, I want an ice cream cone. You're not getting an ice cream cone. We didn't throw a fit right there because we knew what was waiting for us when we got it home. But I was at the store the other day and a kid wanted a candy bar and the mom said no. And the kid just took the candy bars, threw them all over the store, started chucking sodas out of the soda machine. I was just like, yeah.
Yeah. I do. Yeah. That's a whole nother podcast, bro. We could have that conversation for sure. Okay, let's get into a little more of the funner ones here. It's Friday, Saturday night. You're on the ship. Are you looking forward to the pizza or the wings?
As long as it's not steak and lobster, man.
Which means bad news, right? Steak and lobster means you got the extendo. All right. If you had the opportunity, would you rather do birthing cleaners or the worker party?
That's hard, man, because sometimes back in the day on that LHA, if you were on the right spot on the working party, man, you got the fresh fruit, you got all
Yeah.
the CSs or the SH or the LSs, they would hook you up back in the day. You
Yeah.
got something, but birthing cleaners, I don't know. That's a tough one, man. I'd probably do the working party because I in engineering, man, there's some dudes that you're like, bro, we got to talk.
Working parties a networking opportunity for sure. You get the chance to make some connections. All right. If you're watching a movie, would you rather watch De Niro or Pacino?
That's hard right there. Those are my guys, man. I'm glad you didn't throw Pesci in there. Probably Pacino. I listened to the Joe Rogan podcast with Donnie Brasco, the Joe Pistone, the guy that was on
Watching
there.
that right now, bro.
And so then I went back and watched the movie. And it's like the way it's just how Pacino was, man. You take
Yeah.
that, you take Heat. Yeah, I got to go with Pacino.
I'm actually listening to that podcast right now as well. Okay. Looking back on your career, what was your favorite duty station?
My favorite duty station by far, probably ATG.
It was a great duty station, man. I love that place too. What was your favorite Liberty port?
Ooh, man, I've been all over too. I had a really good time in Cambodia. It was off the chain. We went there. We had to do some carrot stuff. So I had to teach the Cambodian Navy VBSS. And then we went on Liberty. And I remember getting a hotel at this one spot, got a room for 3 nights, and it was $54. My wife was like, okay. I told her, say, I'm getting a room, Dad. I said, oh, it's $54, only staying one night. I was like, no, I'm staying 3 nights. Yeah, it was great, man. It was
That's
right there,
awesome,
had a
man.
pool. Yeah, it
Cambodia
was
sounds
amazing.
great, brother. That's huge. What do you think throughout your career was the most challenging watch qualification?
The most challenging watch qualification was probably my EL letter
Okay, on the
because
Champlain.
it was on Lake Champlain because I got humbled. I got humbled. The
Okay,
captain, he humbled me. I went in there
hey,
thinking I knew more than what I did. I didn't. It was on me. I didn't study properly. I knew all the stuff that you needed, right? But I
yeah.
didn't understand that by the time you get to that level, you're already qualified. You're just giving the captain a warm and fuzzy that he's going to let you run the engine. What are you going to do during restricted maneuvering at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, and you're really understanding that he's giving you his faith and trust, right? Looking back on your life, would you rather be independent or on a team?
I'd rather be on a team.
Okay. Do you have a personal leadership philosophy?
Accountability. Okay, so it's one of the things I tell people, and then when I do my project engineer qualification boards with people, I'll ask them. I'll be like, "Hey, what's the difference between accountability and responsibility?" And you get all your answers. Of course, accountability, you can delegate responsibility, but you can't delegate accountability.
Was it accountability?
So I'm a little bit of a history buff. I like the sense of heritage. I
Okay.
like to know where he came from. It helps you where you're going. Best thing I ever got to do right after I made chief, I was over and I was frock for a year. So that was I was on thin ice a whole year, man. You don't want to go from 7 to 5. And
I
when I
know.
finally made it and I was going to get my new ID card, I was over at Passing ID, or I was over at the CAC lab getting my ID. And I met this dude who made chief back in the early 80s, this old timer. He started talking to me and he was like, "Oh, did you just make chief?" I was like, "No, I made it last year. I just was able to get my ID." And we talked about what my season was like to what his was like back in the day. So I always tell people now when they make chief, say, "Hey, don't waste your season. Don't worry about what other
Yeah.
people say about your season." I said, "It's your season. It's
Yep.
what you make of it." I said, "When I made it in '06, there were probably dudes from the '80s that said my season was soft." I said,
Completely different. And I'll tell you what, you read that book by Jim Lucci, A Tradition of Change, because you're right, bro. I remember talking to World War II chiefs about trying to talk to them about initiation, and they were just like, "What are you talking about, bro?" It's a
"Yeah,
completely different experience. Okay, last question, bro. Would you rather lead or follow?
I can do both. I can do both. I think to be a good leader, you got to know how to follow.
Okay, that's
But
it.
yeah, I want to lead. I want the responsibility. I don't want to have. I don't want to look at somebody and say, "I told you." I want it to be like the buck's going to stop here.
All
But
right,
if
I
I
feel
have
you, bro.
to,
I
I'll
get it.
follow.
I get it. All right, my man. Thank you very much. Save rounds
Thanks,
to
brother.
alibis, bro.
No, it's good. I appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk. Hope to do this again. Maybe we should try to get all the fellas. I know Eli's around. Matt Lacey just got back into town.
Yeah.
I have no idea where Sugar went. I see him pop up on Facebook every now and then. He's out
I
bow
don't
hunting
know, bro.
somewhere.
I think, yeah, I'm not. I have a feeling his wife went. Wasn't he gonna be a chef or something? That was like
Yeah,
his plan to go be a chef. Yeah, I've been talking to Eli, trying to get him on here, bro. I know he's still got things going on. He's still got some things in the hopper, but he's on my short list for sure.
yeah. I said we go out to the desert with them.
I know. I see you guys do that once in a while.
Yeah,
I'm sure when he sees your episode drop, he's gonna be like, "Damn, bro." A couple of guys that are, I gotta get on here is freaking. Oh man, what was oh boy that ENCS Derek? What was
oh,
his
you
last?
talking about Derek Webb?
Yes, I gotta get D Webb on here, bro.
Dude, I think he's still running around the waterfront somewhere.
I'm trying to get Brian Nelson on here. I want to get D Webb. So for sure, I'm hunting these guys down because I want to tell. I want them to tell their stories, and I want to hear them,
Yeah.
bro. I love it, bro. This is the things that I think will live longer than all of us, dog. These are like time capsules. All right, my guy, I gotta go because I got a color guard, homie. I appreciate
Hey,
your
good luck,
time,
man.
bro.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Peace.
sir. I appreciate you later. Bye,
All
everybody.
right.